beloved Mario characters appearing on the cover and title screen made me think that I loved this game for 7 years. Unlike most games that I spent a lot of time coming back to because I sincerely loved, this one I spent a lot of time on because of all the different Mario characters, making me think I loved this game when deep down inside I actually hated it, and didn't even want to admit it to anyone, not even myself. So for wasting 7 years of my life before I finally admitted to myself that I hate it, I'm going to give this 7 cents. This game thinks that no one will notice that they ripped off the Amazon theme from the DuckTales game. Though I gotta say, as much as I hate this game, unlike in most games I played where it takes between 18 seconds to a minute in order to actually get to where you want, all you have to sit through is the GBA logo, then hit the buttons on the title screen, select the game you want, and there you go. You're where you want in 10 seconds. So, I'm going to regret this, but this is worthy of a sin subtraction. It's not a good sign when the little mini-movies are more entertaining than the games themselves. The stretcher bounces whoever lands on it, but then when the characters land on the same stretcher, they stick to it. Now this game is just switching physics. The stretcher disappears into thin air. Yeah, just walk away from the falling bob-ombs instead of running like a normal person would. You have to get 1,000 points in the games in order to get full credit, which takes forever. Time for a 3-cent addition. These games have like 12-bit music and sound effects and no voice acting. Also, the majority of these games here are mostly you just standing in a few spots and hitting a button, which I can definitely understand was supposed to appeal to the fans of the old Game & Watch games, but this still gets repetitive for me. So I'm going to add 1 cent for each game that has no more than 4 spots to stand in. So we have this one, Boxing, Rain Shower, Donkey Kong 3, Chef, Fire Attack, Manhole, Tropical Fish, and Parachute. There are way too many stop things from falling on the ground minigames here. I'm going to send each one when we get to them. We could only get 2 people with stretchers. An entire castle is on fire, so why can't we get more? I can understand there being multiple Toads because the RPGs established the fact that there are multiple, and the fact that there are multiple Yoshis since games have established that there are not only more than one, but also multiple green ones. But why are there multiple Donkey Kong Jr.'s? Also, doesn't Mario hate Donkey Kong Jr.? I know you don't want someone to get hurt even if they are your enemy, but that didn't stop Mario from murdering Goombas and Koopas in his adventures. It's always been weird that Bob-ombs love to kill themselves just to hurt you. The guy who made Mary Poppins' bag quit his job and moved to the Mushroom Kingdom, where he got a job of making carriages. How long can these guys stay in the castle full of fumes that can suffocate you? Do they have the lung capacity of Mario in the normal Mario games? You mean to tell me these guys have to do this all day and all night? And I thought SpongeBob and Squidward were overworked. Also, these firefighters should have been here hours ago. The castle should have burned down by now. Also, since the castle won't burn to the ground and the flames don't suffocate anyone, I guess there's no real danger after all. Oh, you thought this was boring enough? Well, at least I did, but the footage I showed you was the modern version. The classic versions get even duller. At least the modern versions had some interesting mechanics to make them not as boring. I really like the sprite shadows here, but they didn't put one in for having the Mr. Game & Watches running away after they're dropped. In the hard mode, some people jump from the 4th and 3rd floors instead of just the 4th. I guess that's a good way to ramp up the difficulty, but it makes me wonder why no one is going out the 1st and 2nd floors. Waluigi Bowling. The first game here that I actually enjoyed, and okay, that's not saying much because this is only the 2nd game. But it has to be over very quickly because of how quickly you get stars here. Also, the fact that you get 1 star for every 3 victories made me think that the same formula works in Donkey Kong 3, and the stars are gotten in different ways in these games, like getting moons in Fire and Rain Shower, beating 3 levels in Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., and getting trucks in Mario Brothers, when you actually get 1 star for every 200 points. Unlike most Wigglers, this one snaps back to happy almost instantly. The other Mario games made it clear that boos cover their face and don't move when you face them, yet Luigi is facing them the whole time and these boos are on face. This boo is a jerk to his kid. When has Waluigi ever worn gray? Are you sure these guys are boxing? Because the graphical limitations make it look like they're playing dodgeball. The other mode of this game is multiplayer only. I wouldn't mind that, but barely anyone owns this game, so there's no one to play with. But that's good because less people have to waste their life on this. Still setting it though. It takes so much longer to get points in Classic than it does in Modern. The clothesline mysteriously disappears after Waluigi is hit by the spike ball. Mario is once again helping Donkey Kong Jr. even though he hates him. There's no way this tree should be able to support Bowser's weight. It sure was nice of Bowser to label the water balloons so that Mario could tell where they are being thrown. These are the slowest falling water balloons I've ever seen. Also, can't he breathe fire? I thought that it was crazy having to work all day and all night, but seeing that Mario has to do this literally all year long and only stopping for a few seconds to hit this P-switch, That's just terrible. Cool scenery change though. Also, none of these lazy jerks suffer from bone loss or die of starvation. Also, they don't freeze to death in the winter. I could maybe forgive Mario helping Donkey Kong Jr., but to help Wario? Wario is one of Mario's mortal enemies! Also, we never hear Wario's name once throughout this whole Game & Watch gallery except for in the credits. Even Waluigi had his name mentioned in the instructions for multiplayer boxing. As a matter of fact, the only reason I even knew Wario's name when I played this was because I happened to see copies of Wario Land 4 on store shelves when I was shopping for this game. Also, this game made me think for 2 years that Wario was a good guy. Instead of using the creative different ways they used to have all the other characters come on screen, they got lazy and had Yoshi and Luigi both enter the same way by getting dropped off by Lakitus. I think they should have had Luigi use some sort of super jump to get up there, or Yoshi could have flown in with his helicopter form from Yoshi's Island. See? Even I have better ideas. That's just plain sad. Also, where is Daisy? She doesn't appear in any of these Game & Watch games. Maybe she should be here instead of Wario because Mario saving her would make a lot more sense. On hard mode, Waluigi will try to tug at your line to mess you up. But he and Wario are both on the same side, so wouldn't you want to keep Wario safe? Did Wario put a worm in Waluigi's soup and now Waluigi wants to get back at him for it? I don't know what time period the classic version takes place in, but if it takes place anywhere after 1938, Mr. Game & Watch should have a clothes dryer. Also, in this pose, he looks like he has pigtails. This rain falls about as fast as a feather. He could just pull his laundry by the lines and avoid this whole crisis. Considering this is Yoshi we're talking about, I'm surprised that he's actually doing his job and not eating the cookie dough. This boo has the strength to effortlessly lift a huge glob of cookie dough. This good-for-nothing factory only has one employee working every single container. This deceivingly awesome music track made me think that Mario Cement Factory was my favorite minigame here, even though it's actually the worst of them all because most of it just involves sitting around waiting for more cookie dough to come. 3 cents added. It's made even worse by the fact that most points you can get at once is 2 in this game, where 1,000 points is the amount you need in order to get full credit. 3 more cents added. Whoever built this place doesn't care at all for employee safety, considering how easy it is to fall here if you aren't careful. What's the point of these boos? You don't get any points for sending them through the machine, and it's too easy to see them, so their hiding trick serves no point other than to make this minigame even more long and boring. How did I die? There was a platform right below me. Instead of running, Donkey Kong just walks after Mario. And despite walking while Mario was running, he still somehow managed to catch Mario. Mario is in a place where Donkey Kong Jr. can't reach him, yet he throws it to an area where he can. Donkey Kong looks so stupid the way he's clenching his teeth like this. Even though this is one of the few Game & Watch games I like, it boggles my mind that Mario is using Goombas, Nipper Plants, and bullet bills, even though he hates them more than he hates Donkey Kong Jr. Fruit can fall through platforms. Well, that destroys the purpose of saving him if Mario will just kidnap him 2 seconds later. Also, Mario has the strength to effortlessly carry an 800-pound gorilla and can fly now. The manual tells you that you can jump on Nipper Plants even though you can't. That actually makes me angry. For giving false gameplay tips that can cause people to lose, that's worth 3 cents. This last level looks nice, but it's mostly a reskin of the first one. The game supports to live and it's physically possible to stand on clouds. Donkey Kong looks like Donkey Kong Jr.'s mom in the classic version. How is Mario able to command these snapjaws without them eating him? Who puts a key right next to the cage you need to use it on? That's about as useful as not locking the cage at all. Wow, great sprite work on the bubble, taking an ordinary sized one and extending it. Looks like Stanley was absent and so Mario had to take over. Game & Watch Gallery 4 was the main reason why I used to think that Donkey Kong was evil. For 5 years I went around telling people that Donkey Kong was stupid and using him as my punching bag in Melee, only to find out that it wasn't Donkey Kong's doing, but actually Cranky Kong. My guilt still haunts me to this day, and it's worth 5 cents. These bubbles travel in a perfectly straight line instead of floating up or down like real bubbles would. Also, since Taboo is everything better than the Fireball, there's no real purpose in having the Fireball here. Spray Brackets. This is another game that is partially multiplayer and makes you miss out on 10 stars if you have no one to play with, which you likely won't. Seeing Mario and Mr. Game & Watch on the same screen reminds me of how much I'd rather be playing Smash Brothers. Also, Mr. Game & Watch can talk now instead of making those beeping sounds. So, is this food just falling from the sky? I think this game predicted clouding with a chance of meatballs 7 years before that movie came out. These fried eggs are huge. Yoshi couldn't eat a big blob of cookie dough bigger than him, but he can eat this much eggs in one bite without choking to death. And he proved 12 years later in Yoshi's New Island that he can eat giant Shy Guys that are 4 times his size. Stops them from falling on the ground, game number 2. Mario and Luigi are just throwing food into the kitchen hoping that Peach will catch it in her frying pan. What a waste of food. Also, they pull this food right out of nowhere. Yoshi doesn't even eat the food, it just disappears into thin air right before he flicks his tongue out. I know this is a nitpick, but it's surprisingly noticeable, and since this is a shorter game, I feel like looking harder for sins to make up for that. Just like nearly every game Yoshi appears in, all Yoshis lay eggs no matter what gender. I want you to think about this. Yoshis can grow up and then lay eggs within the span of 2 minutes. That's actually very disturbing. Wow, I never knew that eating overcooked food could turn you back into a baby. I wish it was this easy in real life to stay young forever. This outside restaurant has no customers. This is the only minigame in the game that's fun in the modern version, but boring in the classic one. What's the point of this cat being here? He's not eating the food, he just sticks his fork on the food but then lets go of it. What's the point of having this food at all? You're not serving it to anyone, you're just flipping it until it falls. Guess the frying pans are also the reason for this food's black color in addition to the Game & Watch limitations. Because you could feed the food to this Yoshi in the modern version, this game made me think that if you fed it to the rat in the classic mode then I would get more points, only for that to count as a miss mark. I know that sounds like my own fault, and it's common knowledge that rats in the kitchen are very, very bad for restaurant business, but not all kids will know that. It's really weird seeing Mario finish Mr. Game & Watch's sentence like this. Okay, so now they're having Wario as a bad guy like he's intended. Pick a side for him, Nintendo! Also, the truck can support the weight of Bowser wiping his butt on their freshly cleaned car. Also, Bowser looks really stupid like this. He also looks stupid the way he's stomping at the top like this. Stop things from falling on the ground, minigame 3. Wario looks like he's going to do something evil with this truck, and yet we're supposed to see it as a good thing. Wario manages to deliver this truck very quickly, because a few seconds after it's delivered, it comes back with nothing on it. What's the point of having the boxes go in reverse? It doesn't give you any points, and it takes seconds to stop it. Okay, I understand bosses needing to call out their employees whenever they do something wrong, but grabbing them by the head and forcing their heads down like this? That's just straight up employee abuse. And if it's supposed to be like that, then I'm setting it for abusive boss cliche. Hooray! The barrel crashed into Donkey Kong and mildly annoyed him! Not only do Koopas not throw up from spinning in their shells, they don't throw up from being inside rolling barrels either. It's possible to enter this pipe while barrels are going through the other end of it, and yet end up unharmed. Also, even when you jump on the Koopas by jumping off the pipe, this still counts as you bumping them. Wow, Pauline, you sure look different. You almost look like Peach. Why does Mario need to go into this room 4 times? Does he keep hitting a switch, then going back to the beginning of the course and thinking, oops, I forgot I was supposed to hit it 4 times, and then go through the course again but repeat the same mistake? I love the different designs of this, but they have the same layout. Did Mario just come out of that fire? What are these moving ceiling tile things supposed to be? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Donkey Kong suffered some brain trauma here. The way Mario asks if you don't want that treasure makes him sound like one of those villains in media that tempt characters into doing things they're not supposed to do. What octopus could be this big that its tentacles are straight when surrounding Mario? It can't be the octopus that attacks you in this game, because even that octopus isn't that big. Like it to Ex Machina. Now that Mario is saved, the octopus doesn't make any attempts to grab Mario back. Mario stupidly drops the treasure that he worked so hard to get. What reason did he have for that? The octopus was no longer chasing him, and the treasure wasn't weighing him down. But whatever teaches that your life is more important than treasure moral, I guess, even though it's been taught millions of other times in media. Also, since when does a game about risking your life over sunken treasure care about teaching a moral about how life is more important? The octopus goes after Mario, but doesn't think to attack the boat. From the looks of it, it looks like it can reach the boat. Albeit just barely, but it looks like it can reach just far enough to flip it over. Especially if it simply just pulls it in by the rope that Mario uses. It would be even more possible if it had just gotten off its butt and actually chased Mario, but instead it just decides to make things fair for him. This octopus makes a really disturbing face whenever it grabs Mario. Nice Game Boy Advance! I wonder how they're going to get it to work after it's been soaked in the water, let alone for this long. Interesting how this octopus can change color, but the only times they do that is if they want to hide, except I can still see it. For some reason, Mr. Game & Watch just puts the treasure on the boat, then takes it back out, and then puts it back. This suffers from Pac-Man syndrome, where if you're stuck between the tentacles, it's highly unlikely there's any possible way to get free. No matter what tentacle the octopus grabs you with, you always end up in the same tentacle. Wario doesn't hear whatever sounds this Bob-omb is making when it comes up behind him. In actual Mario games, it's strange enough that bullet bills have the name Bullet in their names, even though they don't go nearly as fast as bullets. It's even weirder here because at least them they still move somewhat fast, while even on the hardest difficulties, they fly like they're being launched through a big blob of clay. Chickens disappear into thin air. Game decides, let's let Wario eat an apple. It'll, ha ha ha, did you really think I would say that? If I said that, then I'd be the real jerk here for being offensive to people who like apples. The real sin is how Wario eats it really quickly without choking. Also, since you're playing as Wario, those apples should have been replaced with garlic. This is a nice touch of having the scenery change when you get a miss mark to show the damage caused by the bombs and bullet bills, but leaves me wondering how the building gets damaged but not the structure that Wario was standing on. Even if you get game over, the structure is still up. Also, Wario is seen getting knocked off it, but manages to teleport back up it within seconds. These Mr. Game & Watches look back when they enter the screen as if they're like, haha, I have a torch and you don't. I doubt they'd be able to throw the torches that far. Mario and Mr. Game & Watch must have forgotten to explain Manhole to us because they were too busy talking about the museum, which mind you is still big news, though not as exciting as you'd think. Which brings us to our next sin. When I was a kid, I was excited to unlock the museum games because they looked interesting, but when I finally unlocked them, they were still boring. Again, we have to stop stuff from falling on the ground. Number 4. Mr. Game & Watch only has one manhole cap instead of having 4, which could save him all the trouble. Why do all of these guys look so cranky? For some reason, these people feel happy when they step on the manhole platforms as if they actually feel it. Also, I doubt you'd be able to support their weight with this manhole cap. Plus, why are there streets above sewers above more streets above more sewers? And why can't these guys, I don't know, watch where they're going? Again, we have to stop stuff from falling on the ground. Number 5. I won't question these fish being stupid enough to jump out of the tanks because some are like that in real life, but if this guy had tops to the fish tanks, he wouldn't have to stand here all day. Also, he can move much faster than fish can jump. He looks so much like a character from a Captain Underpants book. This person is secretly a vampire because the mirror in the background doesn't show his reflection. These spots on the floor are wet just as logic should dictate considering the fishbowl and water. But the spot in the middle is completely dry. Darn it, game, I thought you had gotten logic right for once. Full color in Mario's Bombs Away made me think this game would be more fun than the others, except it isn't. Especially for a game that's apparently rare. The game feels the need to give us a demonstration of what happens when your bomb gets lit no matter how many times you play the game. Whenever Mario's bomb is lit, instead of throwing it at the enemies, he does something really stupid and runs back to the base with the bomb in his hand. Also, it seems kinda weird to see Mario wearing green, even if it is because he's in the army. Drug usage in a Nintendo game. Also, why is one of your friends one of the people who can light your bomb and make it blow up? All these bombs go off at the same time. Also, this was where I lost interest in Game & Watch Gallery 4. And before you people say, what? You haven't played the whole game? You are in no position to judge it. The museum games aren't as big as the main 11 games in here. Wow, Mario and Mr. Game & Watch only have one sentence each about this game. Almost as if they want to be done with this game as fast as I do. Game we need to stop something from falling on the ground. Number 6. Why do these guys need to parachute into the ocean hoping that someone will rescue them? The helicopter looks perfectly fine, so there's no reason to jump out of it. Also, this water is surrounded by 2 islands. Why can't they just land there? And Mr. Game & Watches completely disappear when they land on the lifeboat. Yep, someone actually got murdered in a Nintendo game. This 2-screen Game & Watch system reminds me of how much better the DS is than this. You get points a lot faster in this game than you do in most Game & Watch games. Showing this guy on the top of the screen is a complete waste of pixels since it does nothing. The fact that Climber was originally a Game & Watch game makes the screen scrolling really awkward. It looks like you're just being warped back to the bottom of the mountain. These enemies look like walking hot dogs. Also, thanks for reminding me that Ice Climber is a more fun game than this. Stop things from falling on something, minigame 7. The limitations make this guy look like an owl. This guy forgot to light the bombs. This isn't even the cause of the limitations like the other classic Game & Watch games, because you can clearly see fire on the screen. Also, these bombs fall as fast as, well, what do you think? Is no one looking out these windows and seeing what's going on? And these bombs that are clearly not lit somehow blew up the safe. Stop something from falling in is something minigame 8. This game is pretty much Parachute except with a ship instead of a helicopter. They have some strange jumping powers. This shark doesn't try to attack the boat. I thought it was disturbing in the Parachute game, but seeing the sharks actually drag someone into the water? Because, you know, for kids. It's nice to see Zelda in this game, but is it really worth all the pain and suffering you have to get all the required stars to get? Especially since playing an actual Zelda game is much more fun. Also, like in all Zelda games, it's called Zelda instead of Link for some reason. The way Link swings his arms around like this makes him look dumb. This game would go nice with the main Zelda theme in here somewhere. I see that they now gave us a code to see the staff credits, but I think it would be more efficient to just have a new area in the gallery that lets you see them. It takes until a staff credits to even see Wario's name. This credit scene looks awesome, but I'm still not tempted to get every star to unlock it, since I can just watch this video on the internet. Alright, so let's see. There are 20 minigames total. Each one of them has a very hard mode except for the 2 multiplayer modes, Boxing, Donkey Kong 3, and the 9 museum games. So 20 minus 2 minus 9 equals 9. There's both a very hard mode for Modern and Classic, and you normally get 5 stars total for each mode. But you don't get any stars for Very Hard. 5 times 9 equals 45. Multiply that by 2 for Classic and Modern, and you get 90. Next, we have the museum games, which again, you get nothing from. There are 9 museum games, and there is an easy and hard mode in the museums, so that gives us another 5 times 9 times 2, which I already told you is 90. 90 plus 90 equals 180, so that gives us 180 additional sins. Now all we have to do is add that to the sin count, and we have our final score.
Why did Nintendo skip this epic game when making remakes? Are they trying to erase it from the Mario & Luigi RPG canon like Pixar did with Cars 2? Because while I actually like Cars 2, I at least understand them trying to forget it. But this time, there's no excuse. Foreign planet is shaped like what the planet is known for instead of like a normal planet cliche. Rosalina is a jerk to the Shrooms by not letting the sun shine on their planet. Game thinks it wasn't obvious how you move. If you're playing on the Wii U, the DS on the screen makes the text quite hard to read. Baby Bowser looks a lot like Bowser Jr. I know they're the same species, but compare his Yoshi's Island design to this one. They look different. A baby must do all the fighting, which raises a question. Did Mario have to go on long perilous journeys to rescue Peach even as a baby? Lazily reusing dialogue from the adult Bowser fight at the beginning of Superstar Saga. Peach decides to leave us, well, basically asking to be kidnapped. How would Toadsworth expect to reach his own refresh room? Toad people stink at jumping. Why doesn't the roulette wheel have a lot of ones as opposed to in the other Mario & Luigi RPGs? Luigi can't jump as good as Mario, even though other games prove that Luigi can jump higher than Mario. Even though Peach's Castle is an enjoyable hub world, it somewhat takes away from the exploration. 83 seconds of Stuff World tutorial. Yeah, let's call it near Holly Jolly Village. Calling it Holly Jolly Road or something would make it sound believable. Stuff World tells us the obvious. Most people would have known that, you twit. I bet he'd be in love with Vi from Skyward Sword. Man, this is dark for a Mario game. Aliens abducting people and destroying homes. They even remixed Jingle Bells into a depressing track. That's just powerful, and is one of many reasons this is my favorite Mario RPG. However, they still can't say Christmas, or even Xmas. The mayor's chimney is in the middle of the house, but magically goes to the left side. These Koopas listen to Bowser even as a baby. Shouldn't they listen to Bowser's father? Or does Bowser have no father? Baby Mario and Baby Luigi are so busy crying that they're unfazed that they're being knocked into the air. I never knew cannonballs zigzagged across enemies. Lucky that they came to Holly Jolly Village all of everywhere in the Mushroom Kingdom, otherwise there'd be no hope for us. Oh, who am I kidding? Some other Ex Machina probably would have saved us. Young Toadsworth tells us stuff we can blatantly see already through on-screen cues. This led to the green shot Fire Flower being used in every Mario & Luigi RPG after this. Am I the only one sick of that? The Shrooms don't use that remote control one-hit KO move on the babies like they did on the adult brothers. If Baby Bowser didn't stop by Peach's castle right before the invasion, the babies would be dead. Now, while this is definitely intense, I kinda wish it was the future. Then it would be more intense. Shrooblet? Junior Shrooboid? Princess Shroob? That's like if all humans have the word human in their name. How do they know Peach is in Shroob Castle? The Koopas make no attempt to shake off this Shroob missile. Good thing there's a convenient time hole in this castle. Yes, Shrooblets are even weaker than Goombas. Baby Mario is a jerk to his brother's future self. Baby Luigi likes seeing his future self in pain. Self-piggybacking. Bowser littered a lot of mushrooms throughout his castle. No wonder Mario always wins. Why do the babies have stash stats? They're way too young. Is it for milk mustache? That's stupid. Someone says something important looking looks trashable. Why does Bowser have a door with cute purple flowers on it? How did Toadsworth get through here? He's a weakling, and there was a quad switch back there. Game wants us to believe young Toadsworth's being overprotective, even though his paranoia is justified for once, when we're talking about bringing a baby through an abnormal hole in the floor. But then, 15 seconds later, he jumps into it with her. It's very creepy that Stuffwell calls this a tasty and delectable badge when it's inside him. These quad switches are interesting, but why would the Toads have them in the castle other than to inconvenience themselves? Shouting in the library. They still tell you not to do what you can do in this game. It was annoying in Superstar Saga, and it's annoying here. This Toad doesn't yell at us for climbing on the bookcases, which he ordered us not to do. This Toad doesn't know what stash points do, but then he tells us what they do. Cool challenge, but why do the Toads make it so you can only reach the top if you're really fast? We just got our dirty shoes on these nicely made beds. Toadsworth sees Baby Peach and thinks Peach shrunk. Toadsworth, it's a time device. Don't you think maybe it's the Peach from the past? Stupid Toadsworth. Are you sure that we're not playing Zelda Minish Cap? Do these eggs' resemblance to Yoshi eggs make any sense here? I know I've praised this game's dark atmosphere, but these dried up Toad sprites are actually horrific. Toad's jobs are to protect Peach, yet these dunces hide behind her. No wonder she always gets kidnapped. Just come to Lone Executor. Deforestation. I sure hope that no toads were tied to the trees that we burned. This travel advisory group approves of throwing babies. Did they really just say that word in a Mario game? Seriously? A giant nose robot? They can use their leather shoes to tunnel through metal like it was nothing just by spinning like that. So, can these babies understand the Shroob language? The hammer command's more confusing than it is in the other Mario RPGs. Why is this Dr. Shroob yellow instead of purple like the others? Did his parents have salmonella? Or does the jelly from Despicable Me 2 have the same effect on shrooms as it does on the purple minions? Putting onto that UFO would be really hard for a long period of time. It's funny seeing these Dr. Shrooms shrink from eating these poison mushrooms, but they should look before they eat. Are you sure this is the Vim factory and not the Slurm factory? I feel bad for Swiggler, constantly having its tail lifted and having all the blood rush into its head. Well, that's nice to know Toad's corpse was liquefied for nothing since Baby Mario just knocked it over. The game continues the trend of having a Wiggler boss fight. These Dr. Shrooms take a similar amount of damage when huge as when they're tiny. How did Baby Bowser know we took his treasure? He wasn't there when it happened. They transitioned to Baby Bowser flying with Kamek to avoid explaining why he didn't hit that wall. With all these time holds, the fabric of time should be in complete chaos. To move these two Toads with use entertain the baby just so happens to be of use to us. Imagine if we weren't in the room at the time. Kaylee is a jerk to Luigi. Okay game, I'm pretty sure Yub can't stand on that roof without crushing it. Cannibalism. Okay, technically not since it's a Yoshi shroom thing / discount Tubba Blubba eating a Yoshi, but how do I word this? Who left these giant footprints? Yub couldn't have done it since his feet aren't that big. They charge 5 coins to look at this egg, even though you can see it from far for free. Or do they force you to give up 5 coins if you happen to get a glimpse of it? Instead of flying away, Kamek just floats or paralyzed, allowing Yub to almost eat him. Luigi steals his cookie and gives it to his past self, which is cute. I can't tell if it's thoughtful of him to do, or selfish since that's him from the past. Kamek can easily zoom past these guys, but instead wastes his time lighting these paths on fire next to a water pump. Baby Luigi just crippled his brother for life, and now adult Mario will be affected. Nope, this is a cartoony game where characters aren't injured easily. Okay, maybe I can buy the standing on clouds thing, but I draw the line of being able to tunnel into them without falling through them. Sure, there's a giant monster terrorizing the island, but let's ignore that for now and go retrieve some stolen cookies. As if Kamek wasn't stupid enough in Yoshi's Island to tell us how to defeat his minions, here he can actually give you mushrooms. A baby can carry a grown adult. Also, why can't the brothers carry each other off screen like that in other instances? Then they wouldn't have to stupidly heave them around, making dodging frustrating. Why would Baby Bowser like the taste of cobalt star shards? There's a huge wall in Yub's way so he can't eat us, so they just scroll down hoping we don't notice the problem. If there are beans buried inside Yub's skin, there's no way that can be comfortable. Drilling into Yub's skin like this would cause swelling. Wow, I did not mean for it to sound that way. The bullies have the same name as an enemy in Mario 64. Even though these ones look cooler, it's still a sin. This Yoshi could have easily escaped while the RC Shroomer was preoccupied with us. Is this dry bone throwing its own bones at us? Or does it have other bones stored in hammer space? Hammering these DNA strands changes their color because that's how DNA works. This convenient slit lets us hit these UFOs. In the Yoshi games, Yoshi can push a Chomp Rock on his own, but now it takes 6 Yoshis to do so. And not even as fast! This actually looks very uncomfortable. So now we find that Yub was really a living shroom Yoshi factory, but how did it operate like this before the shrooms used the growth ray on it? These eggs are supposed to turn Yoshis into Shroomoid Yoshis, yet they're not even slightly Shroomified yet. Sunnyside? Wasn't that the name of the daycare in Toy Story 3? And yes, I know this came first. These ice flowers are good, but they're mostly just recolored fire flowers. Why can't we fight Yub? He's the creature that was terrorizing the island. Why not fight him and Sunnyside? Now I'm adding 5 cents. Really, game? Is there some hidden rule where every comedy in the world needs a generic poop joke in there somewhere? Because I'm not laughing. These eggs survived this 1,000-foot fall. Even in death, Yub can still hold this cliff. Were these Yoshi's minds melted in the eggs? They saw us defeat Sunnyside, yet they still think Baby Bowser was the one who saved them. If Toadbert didn't eventually tell them that we're the real heroes, I'd be more mad at this than I already am. These Yoshis are so gullible that they even believe that Baby Bowser could fly, even though they clearly saw the cobalt star shards hit him. Baby Mario was a jerk to the 2 Toadsworths. This comes spin dash. It has wasted potential. It's a move that lets you go faster, but you can only use it when you're only playing as the adult brothers. Once again, we can't have a Mario game without a remix of the original Underground theme. Why do they have Goombas living in Princess Peach's castle? Besides, at this point in the game, they're pushovers. The babies can somehow drill under the grates. Speaking of which, how did this guy get into the pipe? Fawful? What are you doing here? I know you're a good villain, but you're supposed to be dead! Guess fan service is stronger than death. This bean spot behind Fawful isn't obtainable and is only here for Fawful to demonstrate them for you. This can get people's hopes up for nothing, making people think you can get a bean here. I love rolling up these stairs, but I'd imagine their big noses would get repeatedly mashed by them. How's an ice block in the middle of a desert? Kylie Koopa happens to be talking about the exact princess that we're looking for. The Shroomer Diver doesn't notice the brothers in plain sight. Guess when you're not playing against someone, they're invisible to enemies. It takes 5.5 hours to get to our first of Partners in Time's very few minigames, and this one's optional. We should be getting sand in our clothes. Why the heck do bub bombs resist fire? Is it even possible for this Shroomer Diver to move through sand that quickly? Alright, let's pummel enemies with a giant chainsaw. This is gonna be awesome. What? What were they thinking? So here's a Koopazeum. Yes, that's the name of this area. That's one of the laziest puns I've ever heard. In case it wasn't obvious that the shrooms were evil, Alpha Dream gave Princess Shroom a Discount Pac-Man death sound laugh. Shroomoid Brat? What makes him more of a brat than the other shrooms? Is it because he's eating a lollipop? I like lollipops and I find that offensive. Nice background effect, but normally people hold up those piece of word things or whatever if they're rooting for them, so I could wrongly imply that these shrooms are rooting for us. Instead of killing us, they drop us into the cave where PD Piranha is. I know he's a threat, but the brothers are a threat to their plans, so don't they worry that we could defeat it? Maybe Mario is a jerk to his brother's adult self. Again, these terrible secret keepers have the entrance to their secret area be a suspiciously cracked wall. Mario and Luigi are jerks. Kylie Koopa begged for their help, and they just stood there acting like idiots. This makes me angry enough to give it 5 cents. What creature is the skull of? It must have had some huge thing in between its eyes. How did you break the solid rock just by spitting a block at it? Self-child abuse. Kylie, if you and the shard were both swallowed, you would have seen it. The brothers are upset to hear that PD Piranha spit up Peach. I know that means you still haven't found her, but would you rather her be digested? Luckily, this crosswind happened so we can learn a new move. How lucky are we? Game expects kids to understand the word sabbatical. The younger Toadsworth, who was shown to be overprotective like his older counterpart, suddenly isn't so overprotective now. And the older Toadsworth is put in the wrong for worrying about flattening Peach, even though he has every right to worry. This is child abuse. And now they're teaching kids that babies love being abused. What is wrong with you? Look, I hate to do this to you, game, but now I must give 5 cents. Be thankful that I'm giving 5 instead of 50, since parents are usually there to stop child abuse. Is Baby Cakes the least stupid name you could give this ability? They should be crippled for life right now. This toad vaguely says he's back in a pitiful attempt at making a surprise, even though 90% of the players would most likely know who, and even most of the 10% who didn't know will likely just feel stupid for not knowing. Bravo, Nintendo, for making people feel like idiots. I know Bowser has no brain, but why would he ever eat something that poisonous looking? Hope you enjoyed this because aside from the beans, hitting these high blocks in Gritzy Desert is the only new thing you can do once you come back to a previous area with new abilities in this game. I can buy both pairs going into time holes even if just one does, but we couldn't have reached an impossible distance before entering it, or maybe an even more powerful magnets connecting everyone. These games are still rudely making us feel bad for doing what's necessary. The invisible magnet can make it hard to get to places sometimes. They want it to be a surprise as to who lives on this mountain, when you can see right on the map. None of this volcano debris hits us. If Chinoombas are weak to fire, they shouldn't be living on a volcano. Professor Egad isn't mad that 4 people broke into his house. In fact, he lets them stay. Karen says, why didn't you just say so? When they've been trying to say so this whole time cliche. Oh, so Professor Egad basically reinvented Flood except bigger. I love this connection to Luigi's Mansion. But in that game, he said that he's lived in the woods since he was 20. But this shows he didn't move there until now, where he looks too old to be 20. Also, what gave him the brilliant idea to build his lab near the summit of an active volcano? By convenient timing, the time where he finally finished his idea for the Hydro Gush 4000 just so happens to be from our time. Out of everywhere the professor could have fired the Hydro Gush, it's in the right place. Sure, we asked for a sample, but we didn't say where. For all he knows, he could have messed us up. Are all female thwomps round? Or is Mrs. Thwomp unique in that regard? Because this is the only round thwomp we've ever seen. And she looks nothing like a woman. Thwompling. Even if we're plumbers, how does she think we pulled a gigantic hose out of nowhere? It's convenient that Mr. Thwomp was born with a quad switch on him. Now look what we've done. We've interfered with time and now Mrs. Thwomp hates Mr. Thwomp. I hope they weren't going to have babies. If so, we just erased someone from existence. Even if you return later, this terrible wife still hasn't forgiven her husband for what he said once. How did these two survive the eruption? I'm assuming this happens after the Yoshi's Island games since Mario didn't have his overalls yet in those games. How does Baby Bowser not recognize his adult self from Yoshi's Island DS? Hey look, it's a falling room from the Cave of the Lakitus from Yoshi's Island! These stupid gold Coopilians flee on the first turn. Shooting a firecracker at babies doesn't do much damage. Several reminds us of something we've known ever since this game's 3rd hour. If you already have the simple badge from a smashed egg before getting it here, you'll scream in agony since you did all that work for something you already have. Even after we cleared the first 2 blocks, this swamp keeps saying we're going nowhere. Why doesn't he think we can clear this one? If you don't hit a certain block in the sewers by now, you might not be able to return to the castle and might have no way to beat the game. I'm adding 10 cents. Cool attack, but I doubt Baby Bowser could knock Bowser's shell around like that. Bowser weighs like thousands of pounds. Baby Bowser needs to jump on Bowser to make a small flame appear, but Bowser can spit more fire on his own. Wow, that lava spurt looks so realistic. Almost like they just stretched out some red bar. Bowser's definitely dead. Then again, I prefer that because then he wouldn't evolve into an unoriginal villain. This Thwomp doesn't knock this ship down. Hey look, a Thwomp landed on our ship! That means the princess isn't Thwomped Volcano. Don't know how that's a sign, but okay. Why are the brothers surprised? They walked into the abduction ray thing. What do they think would happen? Didn't they see what happened to the princess? Even the save album's a jerk to Luigi. It left him out of the description. You can't come back for these bean spots after completing the shroom mothership. Are the white guardian shrooms normal shrooms that had too much blood drained whenever they had a blood test? How does fleeing make us lose money? That doesn't make any logical sense. This can't be comfortable for the shrooms in the background. Every game in the series needs someone to dress like Peach. It's not a Mario and Luigi RPG unless we follow the sky after being the game's fake-out final level. Bonk on the head is enough to jog your memory, cliche. These convenient shroom mushrooms save us. Then again, we'd survive somehow. Instead of throwing these flags at you right away, the Shroid raises them to help you avoid them. How can a cactus have a skeleton? Skulls can't be squished. These annoying love bubbles can heal their allies whenever you attack them. This is one of the most beautiful looking areas in the franchise. It reminds me of Super Mario Galaxy. Discount Master Hand. Let me see if I have this right. This cardboard piece exploded like a real bomb. The Commander Shroom boss fight has so much health. This beautiful scene becomes much weirder once a certain plot twist is revealed. Are you implying that Mario is not a figure of immense popularity already? Yeah, babies are fit to enter this area with dangerous enemies. And baby Luigi is more worthy of entering than his adult self. Smallest planet ever. We basically just blew up a planet. How did they have a picture of adult Bowser if Bowser was a baby in this time period? This fake fire does more damage to us than an actual firecracker did. This hidden Aurora block is in plain sight on top of this machine thing on a platform that's clearly visible. It can be pretty annoying going diagonally on these platforms. The Star Door is a jerk to Luigi. Okay, he's doing that to test us, but it was still a sadistic move to make him cry like that. This is hilarious, but if Luigi's heart is literally that size, he should be in constant pain. Wow, leave it to me to ruin a perfectly good joke. Oh my gosh, the inside of this pipe is so beautiful. Better remove 2 sins. Cheap enemy placement. Discount Woohoo University Sunbeam Puzzle. Imitation bean spots. I like this pentagram symbol, but how did Nintendo not get sued for being offensive? Why didn't these guys have to do these trials to get here? Now that Toadbert's memory's jogged, why doesn't he tell us the truth about the Cobalt Star? How did he even get amnesia to begin with? Where's our explanation? No one questions what Toadbert was on about. Baby Luigi being able to fall off makes this narrow maze more annoying than it needs to be. The character tries to say something important but gets interrupted, cliche. This is an awfully random choice to be a semi-final boss, especially since it's a clone of a previous fight. It's funny seeing him plant his face into the ground, but also kind of random for him to do just because his attack failed. Reverse cannibalism. Good idea, leave the two who were turned into shroom mushrooms here instead of taking them safely to the castle. This castle had 4 floors, not counting the basement, but one of the floors was removed. This mushbrain makes it sound like there's some huge optional boss in Holly Jolly Village, but nothing's there. Why would this liar raise people's hopes like this? Freaky looking version of Peach's castle, complete with nightmare-inducing music, proves how effective Partners in Time's dark tone is. That being said, the scary music is more of a slight remix of the Shroom theme than an actual final level theme. I think I have this level to blame for the irrational creeps I get from Flopside in Super Paper Mario. There are more than one Shroomsworths that must have been made from multiple Toadsworths, even though there's only one Toadsworth we know. This intern Shroom can somehow lift a huge meteor, and this Odenfrail Shroomsworth has the strength to knock it around. Not respecting your elders. Who left these Shroom ships unguarded? The Shrooms have a very awkward way of controlling their ships. And why do they require 4 Shrooms to pilot? These highly intelligent aliens leave themselves completely open, and even the ones that move around don't fire back at you. These Shrooms haven't killed Peach. Panning out the level. Why do they need to point us in the right direction? We can see for ourselves what direction we need to go in. Game misses a good opportunity to say something like, "Oh no, you've been dropped into the sewers," instead of reusing the dialogue they used 10 minutes ago. There's no bed where Peach's bedroom was, so do Shrooms need to sleep? I thought taking a block out of a statue of Princess Shroom's dress was bad, but this? I think I'm gonna be sick. I wish we could use the bronze ball to go up the stairs, but no pipe blocks are at the top. What do you mean before we rescued Peach? We didn't yet. Out of everywhere the mothership could have landed, it landed where it could knock out the barrier. Why can we understand the Shrooms now? This part was what led to one of Josh Scorcher's biggest mistakes, where he misinterpreted the entire Shroom language as if the Shrooms were saying destroy, making him think the Shrooms know nothing but destroy, thus robbing us of a good entry to his darkest Mario list. This is one of the most epic battle themes in the whole franchise. And now it's that time, Rise Up Track sends for a game's epic soundtrack. Peach stupidly pulls out the final shard, making it easy for the baby Bowser Ex Machina to take it. Why was baby Bowser turned to a fatter Shroom mushroom than everyone else who was transformed? This moment legit sends shivers down my spine. Here we learn that the Cobalt Star was actually in a prison for the Elder Princess Shroom before getting captured. But in Todico's flashback of Peach getting kidnapped, Elder Princess Shroob was nowhere to be seen. Also, how did Peach scatter those Cobalt Star Shards around the kingdom if she was kidnapped? Also, lucky for Alpha Dream that the dialogue spoken through text boxes, otherwise we'd hear her creepy voice and known it as a trap. Also, why has she warned us about the Elder Shroobwood about to attack us at the Star Shrine? And lastly, since the Star Spirit inside the star was Elder Princess Shroob, this means she was basically asking you to kill her sister. Yeah, great climatic semifinal phase. Have her hold her arms out like, what did I do? Whenever she gets hit, have her charge like a football player, and drink a soda in the middle of this epic climax. Well, it could be worse. At least it's only the first phase, and she's not pigging out in the middle of a fight like a certain other final boss. She takes too long to drop this meteor on you, allowing you to counterattack. Instead of having her troops shoot you at once, she shoots them down to bombard you with them. There's one rare attack where she sucks her minions into a time hole and launches them at you later. But it's so rare that you can go for about a decade without even knowing it exists. It's so rare that this is the best quality footage I found of it. Are you serious? That's the least stupid way of coming up with a solution to this whole mess. And just like that, the Hydro Gush gets rid of every Shroob mushroom in the kingdom without missing a single square inch, and we shouldn't worry about people shielded by roofs. We never even got to say goodbye to Kylie because her last appearance in this game was her returning to normal, and when we finally do meet her again in Dream Team, she doesn't recognize us. That's very depressing if you think about it. How did Professor Egad make water have the same chemical makeup as baby's tears? Yep, no more Shroobs, at least until Bowser's Inside Story reveals that some are in Bowser's freezer, and one's in the audience in Bowser's castle. And let's forget about all these time holes in the castle that could potentially lead to problems. Yeah, great idea, jump on Bowser so that he can regain consciousness and try to attack you again. Yes, it's still not over. They had an underwhelming fight after what should have been the final boss. It only exists to drag Bowser into the climax. Can't they have one Mario & Luigi RPG final boss that doesn't involve Bowser in any way? For some reason, the fireballs Strauser spits up go up to Elder Princess Shroob. Lazily reusing music from Superstar Saga. Baby Peach got bored of the Toadsworth twist, but goes back to being entertained by it. The babies give their adult selves their hammers, but the adults lose them and need to get new ones from a box inside Bowser. This Yoshi cookie hasn't gone stale. I know this song is not supposed to be upbeat because of all the toads that died, but it barely sounds sad. For a game this awesome, the last 18 minutes really aren't.
This game's opening plays greatly with its relaxing music and how it sets you into this amazing game's world. I'll remove 4 sins right off the bat, making this the first game I sin to have its sin count be negative at least once. Game sends into Kokiri Forest, but shows the Spirit Temple. Game instantly spoils something from the semi-final dungeon. Does Link have to sleep in the opening of every Zelda game? He's giving theorists more fuel with their theory of each Zelda adventure insultingly be just dreams. Main character is different from everyone else cliché. Game once again spoils something from later. Mito's a terrible guard if he's facing towards the place he's guarding. Does Navi really need to fly under his legs? Why not fly over him? I know there's not much time, but let me stop to say hi to this girl. This image right here. That's cute and all, but is it possible to say airborne after flying into something? I don't mind Navi, but I don't blame everyone for hating her voice clips. But gosh, are these graphics beautiful. The leader is a complete jerk cliché. Now we're robbing Mito. Though to be fair, he probably deserves it. How and why do they have dangerous boulders in this area? How did the Kokiri make this super dangerous path? Kids aren't strong enough to carry ladders without hurting themselves. Business scrubs stink at being business if they just attack their customers. If this guy has to keep jumping to interact with customers, he should have a smaller counter. Or at least get a stool. Does Mito think he's a Charlie Brown character? Now he's a discount Kerchak. Question is, why doesn't he accept Link? Is it because Link didn't have a fairy? He has one now. How did this stupid brat even get to be the boss of the Kokiri in the first place? That actually makes me really mad. Also, for some reason, it's easy for me to picture him with the annoying know-it-all kid's voice from Polar Express. Discount Piranha Plant. Wow, Nintendo has guts to throw you into a dungeon right away. Using fire in a highly flammable tree would kill it faster than the curse does. Link rolled through water with his torch, yet it still lit. 23 is number 1. Great math lesson for children. Well, one that doesn't sound stupid at all. These Dekus are the closest thing to a mini-boss in here. Because we found your secret combination, you should reveal your queen's secret? That makes no sense. Divide sign pupil. You call this a main boss theme in a Zelda game? It sounds like what you'd hear in a circus act. Kids don't want to see something give birth on screen. Goma can be tough for newcomers, but veterans can kill it quickly. Ganondorf and his horse's heat-proof skills are on point. This sequence is just beautiful. This effect looked better on the N64. Guess there are some things the 3DS can't handle. This is definitely a sad scene. As long as you don't realize he's dying with his mouth wide open. I don't really understand Mito accusing us of killing the great Deku Tree, but how does he think a wimp like us could have killed this great spirit? Mito doesn't even banish Link from Kokiri Forest for this. For the longest time I thought he did, and then I missed the part where he said it. What if this Deku accidentally swallowed the bullet bag? Saria must be a witch! Need I mention how good this game's music is? This would easily be the best Zelda overworld theme if it wasn't tied with Spirit Tracks' overworld theme. I'd subtract sins for every great song individually, but I learned from my Superstar Saga video, so I'll save time and remove 30 sins right now. And guess who's here to bother us throughout our adventure with that stupid default setting where it's easy to accidentally reset his dialogue? G stays in the Hyrule Short, and at night the awesome music turns off. Who leaves rupees way up here? These rupees are fragile. I really don't want to believe this, but this game gets so much credit for what Link's Awakening did. Malon and Talon are based off Marin and Terran, Dog's first Zelda appearance was in Link's Awakening, and even the Ocarina was in it too. These dumb guards are easy to fool because they're too spread out and only watch certain areas. Idiot father cliché. This game has something against Mario if they're basing Talon after Mario and making him lazy. How'd he even become Lon Lon Ranch's owner anyway? For a lazy guy, Talon sure can run. We just ruined the milk Talon delivered. These windows no longer have that cool Mario reference. The fact that this guard already had a lit bomb ready gives me bad implications. Scene does not contain a lap dance. Roll credits. These guards are facing Link, yet they don't throw Link out. Geez, I wonder why your father doesn't believe you when judging the guy who we completely trust. All because of a dream you had. Really, Zelda? You're not even slightly worried he's onto us after he just saw us spying on him? This is pretty cute. Where did Impa come from? Impa looks younger than she actually is. Because the ocarina is no longer controlled with the joystick, it takes some getting used to. I'm glad Impa's making this easier, but I doubt being caught would be that much trouble. The guards would just throw us out and we're done here anyway. In Kakariko Village, born and raised. Because we picked up a few chickens, we have potential to be one of the best cowboys. This guy running on the wooden beam is asking for suicide. If Andrew's allergic to chickens, why are they making her handle the chickens? Andrew rewards your hard work with a bottle. Who lets cows in their house? We just took this corpse's heart, which shouldn't be working anymore. Danpei's appearance in contrast to his personality makes him a discount Quasimodo. I hate this horribly luck-based minigame. Why do you make a game based off violating graves anyway? I'm glad these guys are back to normal, but these dances look weird. How does this guard know we didn't write Zelda's name? Wouldn't Zelda's lullaby be better evidence? Tech types look more like spiders than Gomas do. So these Gorons aren't in danger of starving after all. They just can't access the ones they're addicted to. Why do Gorons have tight ropes? They can't support their weight. If Darunio dances to forest music, how come he hasn't broken down and danced whenever he heard Saria's song coming from behind the rocks leading to the Lost Woods? His secret should be exposed. Also, Tough Guy has an embarrassing secret cliché. It's so easy to get lost in Goron City. I'm glad we can go this way and save all that backtracking, but how does an area high in the mountains go all the way down to Lost Woods this fast? They're not even next to each other. Zora's River's between them. I'm glad you can follow the music to get here, but why is this the only time it does that? The Lost Woods are annoying to navigate every other time. Saria's song's barely used. What the heck did I just play, Face? Thanks. I'd have thought there are other songs considering this isn't our first one. I couldn't find footage, but if you play Zelda's Lullaby here instead of Saria's song, Darunia tells you his secret. This bomb doesn't destroy the urn. Why does this angry face give you rupees if the sad face gives nothing? Game forgets Todongo's real weaknesses. So we have to destroy this boulder to uncover the switch and press it. But wasn't the boulder already pressing it? Don't sell Deku shields in an area where they burn up. Are you scamming us? Link survives this. Dodongo King's attacks are much easier to avoid than they look. This is one thing I love about this game. It's a mostly serious game that's not afraid to have a few comedic moments in it, and this definitely made me chuckle. Why did this Goron put up a sign challenging us to stop his wild rolling if he didn't want us to stop him? Why would Nintendo make Great Fairies this creepy in a Nintendo game? Their laughs are scary too. Well, it could be worse. At least this isn't their Breath of the Wild design. This shot looks disturbing. Thanks, but there are faster ways to heal than traveling great distances. No offense. K4 Gabriel flying you to Kakariko proves he's not quite as useless as people say, but he wastes time going in this loop. You must repeatedly spend rupees before this woman finally shows you the prize you want. I guess cuckoos are reasonable obstacles, but why are they here? Other than for animal abuse. Happy mask salesman expects a child to sell his products correctly. If you don't repay him for the masks, he gets frustrated. Now, I'd probably be frustrated too, but that's why this awful tempered guy is false advertising himself when he has the title of Happy Mask Salesman. I sent Capora Gabora earlier, but here, even if you leave and come back, he still forces you to sit through the same dialogue. Thank goodness he doesn't say his stupid catchphrase this time though. Now the cameraman thinks he's a Crash Bandicoot cameraman. This bottle shouldn't sink, it should float on the water since it's not holding much. Why doesn't Ruto want her father to know she's inside Jabu Jabu, other than so she can be an even worse ripoff of Ariel? It would not be a debate, I could memorize more than 8 if I only had a brain. Man, I hope I never have to subdue you guys to my singing again. So this Gerudo got stuck here. She'll definitely starve to death. How was anyone supposed to find this ladder behind this waterfall? 32 seconds of moving aside. What was Nintendo thinking? Poor Jabu Jabu is stuck in this one spot forever. The fact that no one ever used this music with the unsure Squidward face meme. Bubbles don't bounce, they pop. How did this cow get inside the walls of Jabu Jabu's body? That must cause Jabu Jabu severe pain. Maybe that's what Ganondorf did to turn him evil. Animal abuse. Is Ruto the only female Zora here? Are she and Lulu the only living females? Are they endangered? Pointing at your own problems doesn't make them go away. You bring up that Ruto wrote the letter and suddenly doesn't want rescuing? Some say we should assume Ruto didn't write it. If so, the game does nothing to tell us that. I hate Ruto. She doesn't care that her father's worried about her and isn't even saying thanks for trying to help. You want us to carry you? What are we supposed to like about this brat? This cow isn't drowning. Ruto's impatience just made me hate her even more. These swallowed enemies are not digested. Ruto doesn't even thank us for helping her get her belongings. Big Acto keeps turning, making him somewhat of a pain. Throwing the boomerang through Jabu Jabu's flesh would definitely injure him. Faraday's death is just gruesome. Shut up, Ruto, I was trying my best. When Ruto finally thanks us, she forces us to marry her if we want what we need to save the world. Why would I ever want to marry this jerk? If Hyrule Warriors didn't come out 16 or 3 years later, no one would ever convince me that she'd be a great waifu. Why, you stupid disgrace to Zoras! This greedy jerk keeps raising the magic bean prices. There's no way Zelda threw the Ocarina that distance. It would have smashed on the ground. Now we got the Ocarina of Time, and we're getting rid of the Fairy Ocarina, which was Saria's parting gift. This would be better if Saria gave us something different, and that we got the Ocarina of Time with Zelda's Lullaby, since there's no in-game difference. These Skull Kids dance weirdly. These cheapskates give 1 rupee for winning their first challenge. This happy Hyrule Castle Town theme doesn't fit with this guard dying. The Hylian shield can't reflect objects like the Dooku shield can. Well, not yet. After hearing the Master Sword theme multiple times in this game, the Link to the Past version eventually sounds like a downgraded remix even though it existed first. So wait, once the Door of Time's opened, it stays open? Why would they leave the door guarding Hyrule's most powerful artifact open after the sacred hero already enters it? That's terrible planning. Link looks more awesome grown up, but who changed his clothes while he was asleep for 7 years? On second thought, I probably don't want to know. This song sounds like an unused Star Fox 64 song. Sheik's a good character, but apparently worthy of being in Smash Brothers, even though it's an awfully random choice. Jeez, I wonder who that girl I know from the forest is. Look, I really love this game, but it's not really all that special anymore since it feels more like your everyday adventure game. I can't fault the game for this, it's more so the fault of all these other games trying to cash in on this game's success. Even by Zelda standards, pretty much everything special about it was done in later entries. 3D Zelda was done in, well, every 3D Zelda. We would later travel through time in Oracle of Ages. Fighting Epona was done in Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Breath of the Wild. Man, look what Ganondorf's done to Hyrule. He's thrown everything into chaos. I better take off 5 sins. However, we should be thankful that anything's still here. The moon should have been possessing crushed Termina by now, and since that's a parallel universe to Hyrule, I'd assume if Termina goes, Hyrule goes too. I guess I'd understand having a picture of Ganondorf, because Ingo works for him now, but why have this thing blocking it? If Ingo beats you, you'll have to keep grinding up on rupees to rematch him. Wasn't refusing his end of the bargain and not giving us 50 rupees enough? I can see why losing the horse you promised to Ganondorf would be a letdown, but that's why you should look before you wager. Ingo closes these gates without touching them. Convenient these fences are here. For some reason, it takes 5 hours to get a faster travel option. Funny Easter egg, but how did the deliverers heave a cow into Link's house after Link beat Melon's challenge? Ganondorf destroyed Hyrule Castle Town, but forgot Kakariko Village. Tenpei lets us violate his grave. Tenpei's a nice guy, which is why he's leaving these deadly flames behind. What's the point of having to beat this twice? I like this song, but the opening deliberately rips off Yoshi's Island's castle theme. Guru Guru wants to hurt some Ocarina kid, so let's pull out a Ocarina. Why would he ever teach us the song that ruined his windmill? Also, this strange song was the same song you played, so you should know it. These moblins sound more like weird gophers than dogs. This section is disguised as a stealth mission, even though these moblins are killable. Sheik's technically wrong here. Memories of younger days can change. I wanted to return to my childhood, and sometimes still do, but eventually I remembered I was an insufferable moron back then. I know this is probably the point, but the second half's dungeons don't look as cool as the first half. As such, the second half doesn't feel all that magical. Adult Link makes a weird sound when taking fall damage. Octoroks don't even surface, they just appear out of nowhere. Is this graffiti? Does that even exist in this universe? Stalfos are the most overused mini-boss in the game. They're to this game what Wizrobes are to Majora's Mask. Link looks laughable like this. Thanks, Navi, I can see these arrows for myself. How can Link pull these huge blocks when they have no handles? That makes infinitely negative sense. These ghosts are called Poes. Why? Why would they name a Zelda enemy after one of the Teletubbies? Why would Meg twirl like that to give away which one's real? Deadman's Volley gets tiresome after being used so much in Zelda. One reason I think this boss is somewhat overrated. Still good. Get ready to see this cutscene a lot if you're doing boss rush. Seriously, would it kill them to let us skip it in boss rush? Oh sure, I never guessed that's a fake by how this game called him Phantom Ganon before the fight. Villain kills his minion for filling him, cliche. Link's too old for Saria now. I knew you'd come for me, cliche. As if Kokoris didn't rip off Peter Pan enough, these guys wearing Peter Pan outfits never grow up. And with that knowledge combined with how they're basically orphans, that raises a question. Do they reproduce even as children? Also, while living forever sounds like a dream come true, if someone they know dies, they'll never see them again unless they die, which is hard to do without committing suicide. Yeah, the King of Hyrule, who we don't see in this game. So I guess we should assume he's a man obsessed with dinner and proclaims all true warriors strive for peace. Or maybe he's Waru. Andrew can't spell goosebumps. There's no space. So, awakening lazy people makes cuckoos happy? The name Odd Potion sounded cooler than Odd Poultice. How does Fado know who we're looking for? Why are you laughing about someone becoming a Stalfos? Who do you think you are, Louise Belcher? Also, they're sexualizing a child. You know there's a foot obsession? There's also one with sadistic girls. I'm not crazy for thinking there is one, right? Right? Yes, this medicine's made of forest mushrooms, but how do you think you'll turn it back into mushrooms? They're already turned into medicine. Children shouldn't be holding saws. That young punk guy did not look young. Minigoran sells you the breakable giant's knife for 200 rupees. This line sounds ridiculous coming from Sheik. Fire-breathing block. I hate like. If you fall off this segment, prepare to climb all the way back up. This Goron walks on air. This weird dance move. Volvagia's an interesting whack-a-mole style of boss, but it feels somewhat out of place in Zelda. If Bigoron's eyes were irritated, how can he see this broken sword? This shopkeeper definitely looks better than he did in the original version, because at least now I can actually tell what the heck his gender is, but he still looks odd. If Zora's domain is frozen, how is this waterfall going? Bombs don't instantly kill freezers, which are made of ice. How does this chest appear inside solid ice? Sheik says the ice will melt after Morpha's slain, but it doesn't until you beat Ganon. No one will notice this exit. Link should be getting hypothermia right now. Now that the iron boots take less than a second to switch off, the water temple's no longer the worst part of the game. Thank you, Miyamoto! However, navigating it's still tedious, especially changing the water level. Why does everyone approve of interspecies romance but hate when Sonic does it? Discount Final Dimension Room from Kingdom Hearts 1's Final World. Dark Link's a bit annoying. This river part's fun. We were somehow supposed to know to shoot this picture in Master Quest. I hate this attack. Jeez, who would have ever guessed Rudo's the sage? Now, imagine if someone was exploring the drained lake right when this happened. I'm pretty sure I did all the work. Rudo did nothing. Even when she said she'd lead us, she pretty much disappeared until we beat Morpha. Does Sheik love scaring Link or what? Link is a jerk to the sun. This huge fish weighs 20 pounds. Instead of killing us, Bongo Bongo decides to beat us up. I hate Ritas and their ability to stun you. Sure, you can shake them off with the analog stick, but how are we supposed to know to do that? Great violation. In the Master Quest version, this song's written backwards. Since Link changes time with the Song of the Sun, that would inconvenience people. Someone would be getting ready for bed, then Link would play this song making the sun rise, and that person wouldn't get any sleep before having to go to work again. Shouldn't human skeletons be in a casket? Link is a jerk to Guru Guru. Did my 3DS's color scheme mess up? A windmill going crazy drains an entire well this fast. Also, this creates a time loop. We played the song, which led to him getting mad and eventually teaching us the song, which we went back in time to bother him with, and now my brain hurts. For some bizarre reason, these pictures remind me of Mr. Lugs from Luigi's Mansion. Is it just me? Dead Hand caused several child traumas. Nice design with the skulls, but where are their bodies? I hate wall masters. Cheating. Instead of an original mini-boss, they just reused the mini-boss from the bottom of the well. The hover boots control really awkward. These blades don't decapitate us. These spikes aren't creating holes in this floor. These bombs don't blow up the cracked statue's base, they only knock it over. And there's our boss of the Scary Shadow Temple. A bongo drummer who treats his right hand like chopped liver. Okay, Impa, I look back at that cutscene and you didn't see us. You were facing forward the whole time. Because of stupid copyright, the frogs no longer say singing in the rain. That was cute. The Goatman thinks frog eyeballs taste good. Character says, why did you just say so when you've been trying to this whole time, cliche. Also, genius says stupid things, cliche. Now there's 2 timed missions in a row, and if you lose, you have to go back to Zora's domain, bring the frog to the lakeside laboratory, and try again. The camera couldn't take the epicness of putting in eye drops? That's stupid. 76 seconds of repeatedly playing the Sun Song waiting for the Bigoron sword. We had to wait 17 years to know how this female race gives birth in Breath of the Wild. The game that will probably be the new formula and ruin the franchise by ruining the gameplay and sense of progression. They copy-paste dialogue for each carpenter. Wasn't fighting the same mini-boss 4 times enough? If a Gerudo catches you, instead of running away, Link just surrenders. Are you blind? Link's not a kid. They don't hear Link going over them. Gyro says, these women are scary, inspiring Alex and Josh to make a horribly sexist joke in one of their old collabs. Because we're strong, the Gerudos realize men are not weaklings. But they're still hiring their leader's biggest enemy. I think we found a glitch. Link doesn't get sand in his clothes from the sandstorm. This jerk doesn't tell you what he's selling until you buy it. I know everyone loves this song, but for some reason I just don't. This place doesn't change in 7 years. These chests shouldn't be open. They weren't open until the future. We're supposed to answer Nabaru's question by saying we're here for nothing. What's that supposed to say? That saying anything else would be selfish? That's not selfish. That's trying to save the world. A race of women takes orders from a man? That's sexist. Interpret this line however you want. Link can unlock these super high locks. What's that stupid word this Iron Knuckle just shouted? Kotaki and Kam kidnap Naburo at this exact moment so we don't have to give her the silver gauntlets. Treasure chest. In Master Quest, this hard-to-reach chest contains 1 heart. We've beaten several Iron Knuckles, so what makes Twin Rova think this is any different? Apparently, brainwashing Naburo also gave her a male voice. Little, she looks like a grown-up. Is everyone oblivious to age in Hyrule? These stupid hacks sometimes go right next to each other so you can deflect their magic at each other. Why do they look much younger than they actually are when combined? Why are they going to heaven? They're evil. This game literally sinned itself. They're twins when they're 20 years apart. They say they'll return to haunt us, but they never do for the rest of the adult timeline. Their only other appearances are in the Oracle games from the Downfall timeline, and Majora's Mask from the Child timeline, when they're not even villains. Nabooru's the Sage? I never guessed by how we saw her multiple times in this dungeon. That's self-racist. Man, Link gets all the girls. If someone evil enters, the realm becomes evil. If someone whose heart is absolutely pure enters, it becomes a paradise. What if a good person whose heart isn't entirely pure enters? Does Hyrule just stay the same? Ganondorf holds the Triforce of Power, and Link holds the Triforce of Courage. Jeez, I wonder who has the Triforce of Wisdom. This is an awesome plot twist that Sheik was actually Zelda, but some twit decided that Melee should spoil this awesome moment, so most people saw it coming. Curse you, Melee! I'll never forgive you for making me sin this awesome moment. I guess I should give credit for going this long without kidnapping Zelda, but the sin is that Zelda was found 2 minutes after revealing herself. This is the second game I've sinned in a row to misunderstand betrayal. How is Zelda betraying Ganondorf if she was never with him? Is there something you're not telling us, Zelda? We can see up Zelda's dress. Our reward for every Sculpture token is 200 rupees. Now, you can leave and come back for an infinite amount, but it doesn't do much for completionists. Freezers can survive the warm Gerudo training grounds. Link hookshots through this fire completely unscathed. When you toggle the lens of truth on and off like this, it sounds like something from Star Wars. Why would spiders build webs over water? Water kills them. And your prize for beating Gerudo Training Grounds is ice arrows, which you'll never use. The golden gauntlets, which are only used in one area in the whole game. This giant stone thing lands in lava without a splash. Darunia saying "hurry up brother" is the only one of these barrier dispel quotes that brings back memories from earlier. Maybe having barrier power sources in reachable places wasn't Ganondorf's best idea. This is definitely an awesome build-up to the final boss. However, the build-up seems to go on forever. A bottle can deflect Ganondorf's shots. Why? Climbing can take a while in this game, but it's especially annoying here. Ganondorf destroys most of his throne room, but repairs the blocks he destroyed during the fight. This part was brought to you by Metroid, but who am I kidding? This segment rocks! If you lose the final fight, you have to do this part again. Zelda has the uncanny ability to float, pointless readout that serves no purpose other than to waste a few seconds. This room's awfully identical to the entrance, but judging by the bridge we just crossed, this room's completely different. If the tower chooses to collapse this way, we could have just stayed at the top and we'd be alright. I'm pretty sure that entire castle would leave much more rubble than that. I'm not gonna lie, this is an awesome setting for a final boss. Lazily coming up with an excuse to lose the Master Sword. Navi says she'll be much more help this time, yet she can't find Ganon's glowing weak point. Nice touch with how the Zelda gasps whenever you get hit though. Ganon lies unconscious long enough for you to get your sword and come back. So let's take the time to talk about different timelines. If Link wins, Ganondorf is sealed away, but eventually escapes, leading to the Hylian gods being forced to flood Hyrule, killing off thousands of innocent people. But if Link loses, a future incarnation of Link is someday able to use the Triforce's power to undo all the damage Ganondorf did to Hyrule. In other words, things end up better if Link loses than if he wins. What are you trying to tell us, Nintendo? See, Peach? This is how you have a damsel in distress done right. Actually letting her do something useful aside from just writing letters and throwing mushrooms. I can't take Ganondorf's face seriously. So basically, Zelda has you return to your own time, where Link informs the guards of Ganondorf's actions. But first off, the game literally does nothing to tell us that. Second off, how will Link convince the guards who kept throwing him out that the guy they trust will destroy Hyrule? And lastly, that completely destroys the entire purpose of our journey if we could have just done this the whole time. Okay game, you've earned your 5 cent subtraction. Navi leaves Link for literally no explained reason. And how does she expect to leave through this closed window? This part of the song must have been left over from Star Fox 64's credits theme. The game gives us 2.5 minutes of credits after already showing us end credits.
This person's one of the good guys, right? Why does he have an evil laugh? The Rosa sisters are barefoot in public, and their feet float above these stairs. The moon isn't in the shot, then suddenly appears out of nowhere. Yeah, Link went out in search of someone most people don't even want back. I'll forgive Link having Epona despite being optional on Ocarina, but he didn't have her as a kid, so why is she with him in the past? Screen goes away from the Skull Kid so they don't have to answer how he played the ocarina through his mask. Link's legs should be burned really badly right about now. Discount Wonderland. The horse did listen to you. You made it run away from us. Game gives us fake suspense by making us think he killed Epona. First we have Alice in Wonderland's rabbit hole, now Pinocchio's donkey scene. And that's ignoring Link's Peter Pan outfit. Come on, Tattle, what are you, 3? You can't open wooden doors by ramming them. Stop accusing us, you winged brat. You're the one who stayed to attack us. She expects us to trust her after she mistreated us. This withered Deku is sad to look at, but since we can't return after this, you'll likely forget about it before it has any significance. Time doesn't pass in the clock tower like it has weird time-defying capabilities. The fact that so many mindless sheep hate this remake just because Nero does. They're probably the same idiots who hate Galaxy 2 just because Josh Scorcher hates it. In the N64 version, you couldn't save until like 80 minutes into the game, but now you can save after a mere 20 minutes. Thank you, Nintendo, for fixing the opening's biggest flaw. And here's the debut of the most annoying Zelda character, with his annoying speech pattern, and making you mash the button through this stupid stuff that no one cares about. The dialogue says he's saying Kalu Limpa, but he's actually saying Kalu Ba. About 30% of this game's soundtrack is recycled from Ocarina. I know it's a parallel universe to Hyrule, but I'm still sending it. Tattle just said you're stronger than the Skull Kid, and all you can give us is a magic meter and 1 new ability for no other reason than thinking the Skull Kid was helping you. The worst he did was take away 1 piece of you which we just returned. Snot bubbles. Just what Zelda games need. How are these balls being juggled this slow? Are they filled with helium? Catching these pesky kids is the most likely thing to make you run out of time. This is even more insulting since they're nice kids. Seriously, where the heck are their parents? Why do their shoes make weird dripping sounds when they walk? I should be in bed at 6. Sure, why not? That's Grubsist. If you forget the code, you have to catch them again. Thank goodness you get a journal soon, so you don't need to memorize it anymore. But as of now, it's annoying. This guy blocks public access, and the way he's sighing when talking makes him sound kind of like a jerk. This is a justice group, right? The Scarecrow says dance till dawn in a way that sounds like an expression. I didn't know he meant literally when I first did this. Why are children hanging out with an old man, and why does Chikashi think we're with the Skull Kid? The moon says it's here, which we need to reach the Skull Kid at the exact moment we find him. Really? You're not worried that the moon is much closer to Earth and has a scary face? Stupid fairy. Besides, since it's out of orbit, the planet should be spinning at 1100 miles per hour, gravity would lose control, cataclysms would happen, days would be too long, and we'd all be dead. This can't just be a moon that Majora created, because the normal moon isn't anywhere to be seen at night. The banker has weird time travel powers that let him recognize you even if you go back to before you met him. And why is he doing that weird thing with his hands? Once again, the awesome music stops at night. Why do these Deku scrubs look different than the ones in Ocarina of Time? The fact that dogs hate Deku scrubs made everyone attack dogs in this game. But it could be worse. At least no one hurt real dogs as a result of this. At least I hope not. Great! Poop jokes! In a Zelda game! And why would we want this piece of heart from the toilet? I'd think that would make us sicker. This kid has a point. These carpenters couldn't simply just look up. Also, he takes this seriously, yet refers to it as a giant chunk of rock in the sentence. No, the town's not empty. At least not yet. These final hours are creepy and depressing, greatly setting the mood for what's at stake. Why hasn't this brainless Skull Kid smashed the ocarina? Even though the world ends in 6 minutes,
Tails stupidly decides to play the pronoun game with us instead of being more specific.
That screams so annoying. And are you telling me he couldn't speed up the moon this whole time? Why didn't he just do that right after summoning it? Why Link has these bagpipes instead of the ocarina during the serious moment?
They won't explain at this very moment, making this seem just random until you find out what's going on.
As much as I love the 3-day cycle mechanic of this game, I really don't like how you lose some replaceable items whenever you return to the first day. The Happy Mask Salesman just plays the same 2 keys on this giant piano that came out of nowhere, yet it still plays the right notes. Child abuse. Does he know that Link can go back in time? If not, why does he think we'd have this all-powerful mask by now? In terms of time, they were apart for like seconds. If he does know about Link's ability to go back in time, why is he acting like this if he knows that Link can keep doing that? Once again, false advertising of the Happy Mask Salesman. Roll credits. If the mask was this important, why didn't you tell us that? You didn't even tell us what it looks like. This seemingly intelligent man with great knowledge on masks is also too stupid to tell us about what could happen if you don't get it back. I know I'm getting a lot of backlash for this, but I honestly really hate this guy. How did you get the bomber's notebook between the 3 seconds you saw us? Also, they're not brats. They help people. Unlike most games, this one actually shows you what happens if you don't succeed. That definitely helps with the dark atmosphere. In this awful minigame, you can't even be 100th of a second off. Thank goodness it's optional. Bomb bags are made of a creature's stomach. Thanks for giving me that thought. Who built this playground? Kids will have a hard time getting to the slide. This old lady, who shouldn't even be handling bombs, doesn't see Seikon going directly towards her. Great job, giving a small child an exploding mask. Aww. Could that sound clip sound any dumber? The turning makes throwing these bomb tubes a bit finicky. I'm surprised you let us use explosives here to begin with. These soldiers want the townspeople to take refuge, yet don't let us escape unless we have a sword. I see they tell us to find our parents, but even if we have seconds left, they don't care. These stupid Takuris are a huge pain, stealing your items. Good thing the Deku mask protects us from item theft, and because the Curiosity Shop lets us buy our stolen stuff back, but making us pay to get our stuff back? How is Grog the only one who knows the moon will destroy the entire world and not just Clocktown? Yeah, Grog's a softie, the kind who doesn't care if everyone dies and only cares about seeing chicks grow up. Why did the Skull Kid steal the mask anyway? He doesn't seem like a bad guy yet. I wonder if this Lord Chapu Chapu has a tiny dungeon inside its stomach. You literally get nothing for catching the bigger fish that take hours to catch. Time to add 3 cents. For some reason, I'm not digging the Southern Swamp theme. Really? Who would ever guess the statues look like you?
Okay, Turtles, I'm pretty sure that you guys are the ones who need to get a grip.
The whole clones in the parallel universe seeing this game might confuse fans, such as why are Kotaki and Calm good guys now? I know why, but some kids will be confused. We have to go through these woods twice. Kotaki doesn't even thank you for saving her sister. Ungrateful jerk.
Kotaki doesn't actually sell you potions until you get her a mushroom.
What a ripoff! Did they give us a camera with only one piece of film in it? That's another cheap ripoff. 85 seconds of this discount Pokemon Snap level / Disney World ride. Who's steering this thing? Best song in the whole game, no question. Now I'll remove synths for every amazing song in the game. Even if you turn human in front of the other Dekus and get kicked out, they still let you in knowing you're an imposter. These forbidden doorways are unguarded. Selfish king cliché and character wrongly accused someone of kidnapping the princess cliché both rolled into one. Only difference is that Link's not the suspect. I'll give credit for having somewhat better reasons for accusing the monkey than most accusers, since the monkey entered the temple with the princess and came out alone. But did they not know about the monsters in the temple? Does this idiot really think the monkey could eat the princess even if he was guilty? These monkeys have an annoying speech pattern. The guards don't hear fluttering over their heads. Everyone witnesses this except for the butler who just stares into space. How do you think we'll complete an entire dungeon in the time it takes them to simply dunk you in a boiling cauldron? Do you and the banker share the same unworldly knowledge? Upskirt shot. Get out of the way, you stupid kid! Maybe the Happy Mask salesman was right about you being brats. It's idiotic that you have to speak to this business Deku as a human to give him the town title deed. Talk about picky. And what are the odds that all these business scrubs want to move to these places? Yeah, I bet it would indeed be very humiliating to have Tingle as a son. The swamp level goes up to us where we're going to die. I'm not a fan of this music. It has screaming like a banshee in it. No wonder these blocks have weirdly sad faces. The stray fairies don't notice the rest of Link's body. These muffs leave this medium-sized flame to follow your tiny flame. These enemies can force you to climb back up. And if you fall into the holes, that's even worse. Easiest fight in the game. Bees don't die from stinging you. I still prefer Ocarina a bit, but unlike Ocarina's Circus Act boss theme, this actually sounds like a Zelda boss theme should sound. I wonder how many people found that offensive. Now you can just safely fly above Ottawa while raining Deku nuts on him. He was never my favorite boss, but why did they need to dumb him down? And now he rarely uses that cool firing attack. I like that move because it reminded me of the second Axel fight in Kingdom Hearts 2, but now it's easy to win before he uses it. The bosses have Majora's Eye now. That's like if every boss in Ocarina had Ganondorf's face. Unlike other Zelda games, the satisfaction of saving areas doesn't last because they go back to being cursed in the next cycle until you beat the bosses again. I'm not sure I accept your apology. Earlier you apologized just so you could come with, and even now you followed up by saying don't hold it against you. The Deku princess looks a bit creepy. Those white dots look like her eyes, but her eyes are here. She's definitely gonna be grounded for this. This monkey is quick to forgive everyone for trying to boil him alive. Why is the monkey apologizing? The Dekus are the reason we had to do this. Finding that the monkey is innocent somehow makes the king let humans in here. The swamp spider house cursed this man, so how are we unaffected by the place? He broke his promise of teaching us something if we saved him. If Calm hates being hit by arrows, why does she have this minigame? This icicle should have fallen already because of his painfully skinny top. Link's legs must be frozen. I know what Kepora means, but sometimes you should judge appearances. Should I not trust him if there's a man-eating lion on the road? I get your play on words, but that's not crying over spilled rocks. You could die. This is sweet, but we basically peeled his face off. Why would they dry up the hot spring when someone's buried here? Now we can't save some Gorons without violating his grave. We're such good people to get their hopes up into thinking Darmani's still alive. Why can't everyone take shelter in here? That's actually annoying. How does this frail old guy expect to handle a giant mechanical bull monster? No fair! The Goron Elder's drum plays the right keys, but ours doesn't? He clearly says he forgot Goron's lullaby, but then says the cold's the reason he can't play it very well. Make up your mind! The baby Goron's not a good singer. Sore losers. Honey and Darling kinda question their relationship just because we beat their minigames. That makes no sense. Well, that was an awfully creepy laugh. Why did they force us to do this minigame twice in order to get what we want? Great job, teaching kids that throwing dogs is okay. If parents and owners weren't around to stop kids from doing this in real life, I'd add 50 cents. I love these adorable doggos, but how is there a blue dog? Did it get stuck in some radioactive waste? This dog race is luck-based. Thankfully, it's optional, and at least there's a chance to change your odds of winning. Big Goron hears this lullaby through a long distance through a blizzard so he can commit Goron slaughter. Actually, he somehow survives. Why does an ice dungeon have lava? The gods must really hate the real bomb shoes if they made them explode on contact. How are they not extinct? This stray fairy is found by using the lens of truth at this random spot. You know what? How about I just send every instance of Wizard being fought in this game? I still love this version, but Goat's not as fun as he was then since you have to stop to use fire arrows. I love how the frog thinks Don Gero lost weight when we're much bigger. Why is the elder shivering when it's warm now? How does the Goron baby expect to act mature? I feel extremely bad for Medigoron. He has to keep crawling down these ramps. That should be nightmarish. 80 seconds of powder keg carrying. From what we've seen, Darmani doesn't seem like the guy who'd race, but he apparently does. This remix of the racing music sounds kinda weird. Gold dust? Great. Something to remind us of Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Great, we get a powder keg as an additional reward, which has only 2 other uses, neither of which are useful before we reset the cycle. Romani was named after this ranch, which will confuse people into thinking she's the owner just by being too young. If the aliens come every night before the carnival, why don't they come on the other 2 nights? It really makes me mad that there's no way Crimea can believe Romani unless we fail the mission. Why? Why does it matter if we're a boy or not? Stop being sexist towards yourself. I never would have thought to stay here at all times. Don't you fear the moon destroying this place? Why do you think there'll be a next year? If Madame Aroma can't eat without Cafe, who was gone for a month, how is this woman not dead? You apparently can't talk about someone without some mask. I don't think pushing someone floating over water is this easy. I feel bad for Macau, but laying on the ground, then just getting up and playing a weird song, then fainting is impossible to take seriously. It's weird that a creature with humanoid features lays eggs. Die and sure don't rhyme. That sound clip sounds dumb. Who writes songs on graves? Also, he says boomerangs are his finishing move, even though that usually doesn't kill enemies. Why is Lulu the only Zora that wears clothes? I know Lulu's depressed, but is she really unfazed that we just took her picture without permission? What's this Deku doing in Lulu's room? Evan can somehow make music from a piano that's made from seaweed or whale teeth or whatever. Jappas must constantly have to be taken to a Zora hospital, with him constantly being poked by his crab guitar spikes. Once again, the near lack of female Zoras proves they should be endangered, and yet they're still around in Twilight Princess. Yes, I do think you're stealing our song, you plagiarist. What if Jappas hears you play this? The way the Don Gero mask has its thumbs on your face is kinda creepy. Games saying come back when you grow up can mislead people into thinking that adult Link's in this game too. When scripting this, I realized, how did Romani find out about the aliens? One could argue that the cows disappeared once and Romani investigated next year, but if they were abducted once, Crimea would believe her. Did Romani decide to eat a Krabby Patty at 3 in the morning but then happen to see these aliens out the window? What are the aliens want with these cows anyway? Do they function like shrooms except with milk instead of people's life energy? How did Romani fend them off every year if she couldn't without our help? If you lose, you must return to day 1, buy the powder keg, open the ranch, talk to Romani, redo the practice minigame, then go back to 2 AM and try this again. Crimea is leaving her 7-year-old sister in charge while she's gone. The Gorman race seems optional, but then bites you in the butt later on. This savage shark isn't as wild as he looks. What moron made the faster swimming option cost magic? How will a human/fish person relationship work? They reproduce differently. How do pirates get into their own fortress if the entrance is on the seafloor? How do they expect their equipment to not get attacked by the sea snakes? Bees only attack you if you make them mad. So why are they chasing the pirates? If you get the stone mask here, the second half of the stealth mission becomes insultingly easy. Tell us since these pirates will capture you if they win, but instead they just throw you out. Way to raise suspense for nothing. These pirates put the egg in with this carnivorous Desbrecco. We don't get to fight Avail, the leader. Now I'm adding 3 sins. So they can show blood here but nowhere else? How does that make any sense? This creepy pervert. Oh, what a cute date-like scene. Oh wait, I forgot Link's too young for her. Parents died leaving the older sister in charge cliché. Crimea doesn't believe in the aliens, but she believes that the moon has a scary face and is going to fall on them. Previously unseen pathway magically appears so that Crimea can still get to Clocktown. You need to save at least 1 milk bottle. Well, that would still be disappointing if they're only getting a shipment of 1 bottle. Romani masks, which are needed to enter the milk bar, are rare. That's really bad for business. Hey, why don't they need their masks on? How can Gorman get drunk from milk? Do they sneak alcohol into it? That's disturbing. Link can clone himself now. Gorman doesn't notice that our song keeps sounding more and more like the one he loves until we're done. This is awesome, but I've heard the Ballad of the Windfish and it sounds nothing like that. This is heartbreaking, but some can easily see it as unintentionally funny. This fish eats his fish buddy and spits out his heart. Considering the Goatman's highly-end counterpart thought frog eyeballs tasted good, I probably shouldn't trust him with the eggs. Luckily they hatched right on time. Game made me Google how long can sea turtles hold their breath underwater. They can for 4 to 7 hours. That's impressive, but resting on the ocean floor until someone plays a hard-to-obtain song is a bad idea. Even the beaver in Banjo-Kazooie holding its breath underwater for a long time made more sense, because we don't know if it was there for long. Yes, nothing to be surprised at. Just a huge pug-faced turtle that suddenly appeared. Oh, come on, pirates. You're seriously trying to sail through that thing? I don't hate this dungeon, but fully completing it in one cycle can be a huge pain in the neck. By the time you've turned the stray fairies in, you might already be at the final hours. These switches take too long to push. These Bio-Deku Babas should be overwatered. How are we supposed to know to look at the ceiling in first person? This time, the ice arrows can only freeze certain areas, which isn't as fun. Why didn't they shorten this annoyingly long attack? Gyro is the only dungeon boss that's actually improved, but trying to get these mines while avoiding enemies is irritating. Unlike Woodfall and Snowhead, nothing's changed here aside from an added minigame, and a concert that even completionists don't have to see. Is Lulu related to Malon? This seafarer should choose an easier spot if he wants people to play his minigame. Forced tutorial. The annoying camera doesn't show all 4 torches in the same shot. To complete the Don Gero side quest, you must go halfway through the Woodfall and Great Bay temples and beat Goat in the same cycle. Putting dirt in milk somehow makes Gorman feel better. The all-night mask is a sleep mask? Well, I guess it's okay, if you want to be an insomniac. Why is there a UFO picture? The only aliens here traveled by a ball of light, not a UFO. Andrew's grandmother must think Andrew's cooking was made with the unicorn blood from Harry Potter. Commanding the Stout Children is awesome, but are they strong enough to destroy graves by throwing rocks? Flat takes his grave being violated quite well. The devil exists in a world with multiple gods. Gyros die in one hit and you'll just forget them anyway. That sounds so wrong. Gyptos are as bad as they were in Ocarina. Game deliberately rips off Mario 64's Boo Carousel. This moment scared some people into not playing the game for weeks. His face still looks kind of wrong even after he's returned to normal. Nice scene though. Great, a redundant grinding mission. If you're doing this blind with no list of items you need with you, good luck finishing it before the moon crashes. This Gypto sounds like he wants a bomb when he really wants a Deku Nut. What do these stupid thieves want with this stuff anyway? Some easily offended idiots forced Nintendo to change Ocarina's Mirror Shield design into this dirt mess from the Happy Mask salesman's back. These guys couldn't get a bigger moat. I'm sick of seeing the secret in every single Majora's Mask Let's Play. Wasn't this cutscene in Ocarina of Time except with Twin Rova? Oh hi Ben. Dampé, who was a supposed nice guy, kept pestering his wife. I hate how slow Dampé walks during this, especially since this is the final night. These wall masters make this worse. Dampé survives this. This fiery finger pointing toward the heavens, and a disgusting image in some panels indicate that this tower's builders are jerks to the Hylian gods. And yes, I get the reference. Way too long of playing the Elegy of Emptiness, which you must keep stopping to play. I lost count of how many times you played in this dungeon, so I'll just save time and add 18 sins. How are people supposed to know about the stray fairy up here in the lava room? This mirror doesn't show my reflection. Am I a vampire? This mirror puzzle's annoying. Igors look weird. Well, at least they don't look like weird one-eyed snubble things like in Link to the Past. I love this mechanic, but now will everyone fall into the sky and die? Wow, even the game's tired of Wizrobe if they're no longer giving it the mini-boss theme. So stop using him. Let's pretend airplanes exist in Termina and that a plane's flying under this tower, then suddenly this room's water was dumped all over that plane. Yeah. Just because you make Link giant doesn't mean it needs the slowest and creepiest giant-like elements. Twin Mold makes a pretty horrific sound when it dies. This text box takes way too long to fill up. Tettle, shouldn't it be obvious what they mean? The Great Fairy of Kindness gives you something you can kill things with. Is this writing Japanese? How can Link read it? Another Goron happens to share your name so this mix-up could happen. Unlike in Ocarina, this one's a complete coincidence. This can't be the same one, he barely looks like him. Link is a huge jerk to Link Goro. Does Anju run this place all by herself? That's incredibly stressful. This kid doesn't hear you swimming and or jumping behind him to break into his house. The Skull Kid both messed up Cafe's age and made him look kinda feminine. Extremely overprotective mother who can't stand who their child loves cliche. Instead of doing the right thing by reporting Seikon, the Curiosity Shop guy keeps it a secret if he stops complaining. Yeah, you're selling good products by selling them what you had your Takuri buddies steal from them in the first place. Why is Cafe friends with this horrible person? Oh yeah, a rotten thief is charitable. Anju is sweeping this room that'll be destroyed anyway. When did Tails mate with a Pikachu? You can't deliver this priority mail until night. Heck, it's not even needed to get the couple's mask. Convenient rocks Cafe can hide behind. Cafe doesn't notice this giant switch that sets off Seiken's evil traps. 17 seconds of Cafe running. I know these people have jobs, but wouldn't they rather stay alive than stay at work? Why isn't staying on the postman's schedule? Don't they care for his safety? Well, I've been a jerk to this game, and I'll continue to for the next few minutes. But I'd be fooling myself if I didn't remove 4 sins for this heart-wrenching moment. But why can't they evacuate together? There's still time. Say what you want, Nerl, but I dare you to complain about how this no longer looks like some giant snot drip. I understand why the inside of the moon isn't scary. I watch Rabbit and Speedsters call them every October. But personally, I think it seems like a somewhat random choice. Are you sure this isn't Kingdom Hearts' intro? This Snowhead Temple area really doesn't feel ice-themed. This segment's annoying. Let's give a lovely wedding symbol to these random kids. It's easy to run out of bomb shoes, but you need to access the next room. Hooray, the Fierce Deities mask, which completely ruins the challenge of the final fight and is pretty much not needed anywhere else. This room is much more fitting than the original's weird Rainbow Wonderland thing. This demon can attack by spinning? This phase just moonwalks and breakdances around making chicken sounds. Kinda underwhelming for Majora. Did the moon return to orbit, or was it destroyed? It looks like it's crumbling, putting all those disasters I mentioned earlier into effect. Yet everyone is still alive. These stupid townspeople waited right outside the town for the moon to hit. The Happy Mask salesman vanishes into thin air. And the quest to find Navi has been completely forgotten. What? We waited the whole game for the carnival and can't enjoy it? That would have been awesome! Good thing the postman wasn't too far from Clocktown to see that the moon went away. When I first played this game, I thought they were showing him still running away, not knowing that Terminal was saved. Time to witness an amazing wedding scene. This will be so heartwarming. Darn it, Tingle! Why won't you let me see Cafe? You are so dead when I'm finished with this video, because now I have to give 5 cents for ruining a great moment. Game implies that the Will to Deku image from much earlier is the Deku Butler's son, even though all of us have pretty much forgotten about it by now. Where is everybody? Even the least sexualized of Ash's female traveling companions prior to Gen 6 is still somewhat sexualized by having a skirt this short. This generation's so slow. Yeah, this is one of the reasons I have a love-hate relationship with Barry. It's a shame we'll never see this game in actual 3D because someone decided that the remake should spend more time nostalgia pandering than actually having proper graphics. I'm not saying the remakes will be bad, just not worth the wait. Barry doesn't think to maybe climb up these ledges, and I'm still not convinced they're too high to climb. Rowan Ex Machina. Barry's dance is so obnoxious. The stat lowering effect is quite a downgrade from Gen 3 where the colors were different depending on what stat was being lowered. After beating trainers, you might not get enough time to read their dialogue. Shoes come with instructions. Who knew? The running shoes aren't as fast as they used to be. A sign that this generation, while fun, is kinda slow. Barry thinks he can capture a legendary Pokemon already. Unlike Diamond and Pearl, which somewhat foreshadows Cyrus's evil behavior, this game instantly tells you he's evil. Senjum's music is just weird. I think I know what that was. Mentally insane. Rowan doesn't know how to stack books. 90 seconds of capture tutorial. Yeah, you definitely should have weakened it more. I don't need Burmy that much, but I do agree that it, as well as its evolutions, are useless. What do you mean by doing it? On second thought, I probably don't want to know. That explains why everyone forgot about it 4 years later. People are still stupid enough to block our way without even giving us a good reason. I hate these kind of NPCs. Of course we're going to use the old rod in the water. Where did you think we try to fish? In the garbage? Spoilers, it's not. Kricketot is useless. Its only move, Bide, takes 3 turns to charge. What do you mean, finish so soon? You have 4 Pokemon. I don't think we beat them that soon. Badline got the badge that early? I mean, sure, water is strong against rock, but Rourke's quite a bit stronger, and Psyduck can't even learn any water moves until level 9. Monferno kept a trend going of constant firefighting starters. I need a tour guide that serves no purpose other than to take us to the gym, when we would have gotten there faster by ourselves anyway. This guy only gives 4 options for your favorite type of trainer. Some genius decided it should be possible to skip Rourke's trainers. I wouldn't complain if you could still fight gym trainers after beating their leader. Couldn't they find a less shoehorned way to tell us that Granados has Mold Breaker? Like Granados is ready to break through other abilities or something like that? Well, what did you expect? It's called being a first gym leader. Route 203's night theme could have sounded better. Evil character convinces good guy to surrender or let someone they care about get hurt cliche. You're being attacked and the first thing you talk about is our Pokédex? Stunky's name is so dumb. Madness? This is Sparta! Do Pokemon even like being treated as dress-up dolls? Tyler has a lot of faith in the Magikarp, one that isn't even halfway to evolving yet. A cherry Pokemon? Really? Yeah, you won't be able to explain the charms of bug Pokemon when your Wurmple and Kricketot should have evolved by now. Floroma Town's really nice. The Whale Repel was cooler than the Spray Duck. The saving a lot of data feature is arguably the worst. It can take nearly a minute. I know they had no choice or something, but but this still bothers me enough to give 5 cents. These windmills are too low. They could cut someone's head. I would have complimented how this guy doesn't let you in just because you beat him, but then he tells you where the key is. Catching Pokemon in honey trees is tedious. You have to wait 24 hours before coming back. If only we did have an Inkling with us, it could shoot paint at their machines. Oh wait, wrong game. I kinda agree with Mars. Sharon's not very interesting. Heck, considering the other commanders' names, I bet the only reason he wasn't named Uranus is because people would make that obvious joke and he wouldn't be taken seriously. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing that you got lost on a linear path. I like Cheryl, and her performance got my hopes up for her appearance in the anime, and while she's likable there, she sometimes annoyed me with her grandfather's stupid phrases, such as, seeing a Beedrill means you have to go alone, and you can never touch the hand of a man again after you catch a bug Pokemon. I swear, he must have been a crazy old man. Teaming up with Cheryl is definitely awesome, and I appreciate that her Pokemon are healed between battles. But you have to defeat one of the enemy Pokemon before throwing a ball. I'm guessing it's because of limitations, but it's still annoying. Why does Burmy have a trash cloak? That reeks of dumb ideas. Couldn't this grass-type gym be in Floroma, the town full of flowers, instead of this backwater town? Dialkia statue. Thanks for the advice, Barry. It won't do any good because move accuracy is luck-based. Rogue's kind of right. How do we not know by our surroundings that this is underground? We don't get enough time to read this message. It's possible for your friends to steal your spheres after you bury them. What do clocks have to do with grass-type gyms or with Gardenia's character? I bet it would be possible to walk over the fountains. You just get very wet, that's all. Gardenia is best grass-type waifu, but you can't even evolve her Turtwig? I still love secret bases, but you can't battle friends in their bases anymore. Looker blows his cover in front of this grunt. Pokemon's Platinum entry says it's as popular as a mascot, yet it's not one of the most popular Sinnoh Pokemon. Once again, someone succeeded at stealing someone's Pokemon. I love how these wrong passageways are supposed to lead to traps, but the dead ends are viewable before the grunts even see us. So the ones that want to destroy the world want world peace. Now we found the Team Galactic waifu. Skuntank's sprite in this game is disgusting. The old Chateau is creepy, but what's with these perfectly fine looking plants? Why are Roton's forms event exclusive? There's no excuse. Not really. These random grass patches are pointless because this route's full of them. Instead of a fire type like Magmar, Cyclor Axo uses Pikachu, which you'd expect from someone named Larxene. Wait, it's not safe to walk on Cycling Road, but it's okay to fight on it? A Pokemon game has a P joke. Why? What a jerk! Who set up tightropes in the cave? And how can you bike on them? We're not circus actors. It's so easy to get lost in Wayward Cave. Even the double battles where you team up with Mira can be wasted because you'll probably have faced all the double battles before you find her. And don't even get me started on if you're not using Flash. I wish we could call the police on this stupid thief. Diego is such a heartless brat. Doesn't he care if we get lost here forever and die? Lorenzo ate some mushrooms that he saw out in the open. That doesn't sound very smart. The Shorts kid is still here, but his name changed again. He was Ben, then Reggie's, and now Austin? Or was Ben/Reggie so popular that Austin wanted to be like him? Medicine made from Gabite scales can cure diseases. How does that happen with a Landshark Pokemon? Dawn's a bit of a troll to the player. I love the new evolutions of old Pokemon, but do we really need all these pre-evolved ones? Male Combees are useless. Why would you give snacks for Pokemon a name that sounds scary like Puffin? You should give it a name that sounds delicious. Shoehorn didn't wait for us to learn Joanna's name. How does eating dry food make you more beautiful? The themes for these contests are way too confusing and vague. If appealing to Dexter gives you more points than the other two, what's the point of the other two judges? Amity Square, which allows cute Pokemon, doesn't allow Eevee or Togepi, but it allows Psyduck? What kind of black magic do these people have to make these mud houses teleport you? Because that would scare us. Fantina no longer uses Drifblim, her signature Pokemon, and the one that her dress resembles. Well, at least Fantina's not weird and creepy like in the anime. Isn't it disrespectful to have a Pokemon battle in a Pokemon Center? I mean, this is where people go to heal Pokemon, right? Is there any reason for Albert to carry these Pokeballs in a bucket? Who has the patience to keep going underground and talking to people, then resurfacing and repeating 32 times to get Spiritomb? Again, I don't hate Burmy as much as I should, but Burmy's concept is wasted if it's a male, since no matter what cloak it had before it evolved, it always ends up being the same. According to Motham's Pokédex entry, Motham is a jerk to Combee. I do feel bad for Roughneck Kirby and how he was robbed by Team Galactic, but I guess now he knows how his enemies feel whenever you copy their moves and use them against them, and even gain hats that look like said opponents. Leonard's team just feels like it was there to troll us. Instead of having a team of Pichu, Pikachu, and Raichu, he uses Pikachu and 2 Pichus. I mean, by this point we've already fought a Miss Magius, so what's wrong with using Raichu? Bob is supposed to be Beth's father, yet their ponyta are at the same level. Pokekid Ariel doesn't look like a mermaid. This translates to, all lives touch other lives to create something new and alive. Just let people's dirty minds wander off on that one. I do think that Defog is cooler than Flash, but it's also basically the same as Flash when used on the overworld, except with a different effect. Who would build a house here? It's going to be a major inconvenience to whoever lives there. Elekid doesn't even have any fur, and I'm not sure Happiny really has any either. Something about Matt's laugh gives me the creeps. Why are you serving Pokeballs on a tray? What is wrong with you? What's this black belt doing just staring at this tree? What's the point of watering plants if it's raining outside? How can you even tell if you're sweating or if that's the rain? I guess that the name Ace Trainer sounds better than Cool Trainer, but the name could get us worried over nothing, since it makes these trainers sound like they're far stronger than you. I hate to break it to this gentleman, but Rage candy bars aren't all that useful. How this song became as overrated as it is, I'll never know. What's this game going for with the whole Team Galactic owns this game corner thing? I mean seriously, is it for that sweet nostalgia? If so, then at least in Gen 1, it actually had the Team Rocket hideout be connected to it, but here there's no real connection other than how the logo's here and how they're in the same town. I hope Crasher Wake's singing doesn't sound bad. Maybe it's because I don't do karate, but the way the karate quads yell out these words seems almost weird. Why did these grunts even go through the trouble of stealing our friend's Pokédex if they don't have any use for it? Is it just to briefly inconvenience them? How stupid do you think we are, Abigail? Maybe I'm taking this too seriously, but what's the point of flipping a coin to determine something when we're going to battle no matter what? What's the point of Carnivine having the Levitate ability if it already resists ground-type moves? When did I say I would teach you about Pokemon? With a name like Devon, I'm surprised she isn't from Rustboro City. Again, I don't hate Burmy, but War Madam's typings have already been done before. The only one I would even see as necessary is its ground form, because in Kata, the only other bug ground, becomes bug flying upon evolution. Will be no easy matter? You already lost! How does this Ruined Maniac even know if we're interested in catching the unknown? What do you mean, bear rare? All you had was one Porygon. I understand this woman is looking for her sweet key, but why is she just standing here instead of, I don't know, looking for it? At least this guy has a reason to block the way to Sunnysure City because they're fixing a blackout, but that doesn't explain why he also needs to block Route 222. You can only hear one of these duos' dialogue before battling them. I thought this game learned from that. Cricketune may look cool, but its stats are worthless. Well, at least it inspired one of the cutest characters in Pokemon Journeys. Roman and Kylie say the same thing when defeated. Well, that's kinda creepy. No need to be rude. This song is so boring. The Great Marsh has the same annoying mechanics that the Safari Zone has. This fat guy makes this really confusing. Wasn't this supposed to be that when a Pokemon is eating, it's harder to catch but less likely to flee? What, does Wake become furious with and or clobber people who don't call him Crasher Wake instead of Wake? Maybe this guy's not the kind of guy I'd want to spend the day with. Maybe I'm a bit naive, but I feel Clyde could have done a better job at telling people that fire and ground are weak to water. Finally! A dual normal type that isn't psychic or flying! However, its Pokédexes can swim as fast as Feebas, yet not only is Feebas faster than it, it also has Swift Swim while this one doesn't. I wonder what would happen if you raised the water level when another challenger was in the gym and they happened to be on the bottom floor. Speaking of which, I bet someone could take the easy way out if they were just on this platform and waited for someone to hit the blue button before letting them get all the way up to Crasher Wake. Mudshot looks disgusting in this game. When a bomb sounds worded like BOOM! I can't take that seriously. The grunt says he didn't set off the bomb, then says he's the one who set it off, expecting us to obey him. Stop distracting us, Looker. You're letting the grunt get away. I'm surprised we even catch him. This bothers me. Making Cynthia pointlessly stutter like this makes it look like she forgot what hands are. I know Cynthia's not stupid. Sean says Route 212 was flooded until it dried up. You've got your global warming backwards. How are yellow shard moves used for status effects? Outrage confuses the user, Uproar cures sleep, and the others don't even guarantee status inflictions. And I'm not sure flinching is even a real status ailment. And it doesn't mention green shards. Hey, that's the exact name I came up with for an evolution as a kid, though they had a much better idea for it than I did. So I'll send this for reminding me of my terrible idea. Beating you means we're kind? By that logic, Silver and Paul also treat Pokemon nicely. Isn't that the song from Donkey Kong Country 3? Dylan never gets breaks while other policemen take over? This guy's boss is terrible. How are we supposed to beat these trainer maids in a specific amount of turns? Apparently touching the statue at night does something. Except nothing happens. Manaphy is only obtainable through a discontinued event, so making it required to see to upgrade the Pokédex serves no purpose other than to raise a middle finger at us with a Pokemon we'll never get. I think Sinnoh just hit a new record for brattiest and largest amount of Sir Losers in one region. Probopass looks kinda weird. DeVito has no hint of where he's hiding like with most Ninja Boys. Cyrus's question almost sounds like a double negative. Contradictory statement.
Jessica's right. How can we not swim like these swimmers? Corey thinks he's Salvatore from Wind Waker. This game's surf theme is deceiving. It sounds like it's in a concert E when it's actually an A. If Mantic's back design differs from each region, why are all of its back sprites the same? What's the point of locking the ability for your Pokédex to see both male and female Pokemon differences until now?
Empoleon, with its 60 speed, is said to swim as fast as a jet boat.
This book shows that Pokemon actually choose to give people chances to catch them, and they're the ones who gave humans this idea.
That is nice, but I feel like Jack Thompson's suck-ups will accuse Game Freak of coming up with excuses.
Steelix looks dumb with his mouth open like this. And that's a problem with this game's sprites. They don't look good. That sounds somewhat grating. Caesar said the N-word in a kid's game. I love how you say Rourke has a lot to learn when you have just as few Pokemon as him, despite being the 6th gym leader.
Unlike the previous generations, you can't explore inside the ship.
They don't make it clear enough that Iron Island's mandatory to beat the game. How is it odd that you're training here? Why would Lawrence think we have a problem with him camping? I'm glad Maurice is handling his loss well, but is he really that excited about losing? Physical threats. These two's names should have been switched to match their gender. I feel weird looking at Hippopotesta's sprite. The lineup of its snout looks like its mouth. I thought it just had a huge chin until I saw its animated sprite. I know what it would be like. Really annoying, since the battle would go on forever because of the resistances. Are these grunts being put in the wrong for taking the Pokemon? Is this game saying catching Pokemon on an Iron Island is wrong? First Icefall Cave, and now this? If we're not allowed to catch Pokemon here, don't let us catch Pokemon here. This lift just magically appeared out of the ground. It leaves no space behind. Barry shouted in the library. Barry didn't get his Pokédex before he left the lab? I think I might actually feel a bit of sympathy for him, going on a journey without a Pokédex. Gee, thanks, implying I'm not a tough trainer. Lake Dollar's been blown up and drained, but we also see that the cave was beneath a lake. That means it would have to be completely submerged normally, but it's not submerged when the lakes return to normal. What do you mean? You weren't even there when we raided the Galactic Building. What's with Saturn's hair? Was he raised by cats? Not very smart of this grunt to tell us he's stalling. Even prior to Gen 6, they still find a way to ship us with Dawn even though she's underaged.
Not that I minded back then. She was my replacement waifu after May left, but as an adult, it's sinful.
I love how you say again and again when this is only our second time beating you. This goes on for way too long. Feebas is still annoying to find. Took long enough to get an actual snowy field level. I'm guessing you won't get along with Elsa. It's official, Game Freak is obsessed with monkeys. Seriously, game. Why bother giving us our first ever female fighting type gym leader to promote female empowerment if you make Maylene act like a weakling here anyway? Can Matthew even survive being buried in snow in a blizzard? This part takes a while to cross. Was Barry just waiting for us by that cliff instead of, I don't know, chasing Team Galactic like you're supposed to? I doubt our body weight's enough to break these big snowballs. I'm surprised an ace trainer with a name like Savannah works in an ice type gym. I don't mind Candace, but they don't really do enough with her character to make her feel more like an ice type leader.
Jupiter is telling us how to stop them.
Despite how it can apparently fly to places, Fly is one of the only HM moves Garchomp can't use. This item's been taunting us for a while now. Now we finally have it, and it's a full incense.
This is a cool building, but also feels so much like the Silphco building it's not funny.
Okay, there is no way Cyrus is only 27 years old. Sure, we should let you do terrible things in peace. How does Cyrus have a Crobat? You can only evolve Golbat if you're nice to it, and Cyrus sees Pokemon as just tools of war. Why do you think Ghetsis doesn't have one? You couldn't come up with a better nearly defeated line than my last Pokemon? It feels awkward having Cyrus not be the last one we face in their hideout. I understand Saturn believes they have no more use for the Lake Trio,
but how's he sure freeing them won't come back to bite them later? What town could he be from that's full of dragon tamers?
I don't think there are really any in the Sinnoh region. Was a cave meeting really the best way to block the way to the summit? You really think that just telling us to join you will make us join you? This mountain is awesome with how massive it is. I'm surprised you're not letting us stick around so you can kill us along with the rest of the world. You don't have any Pokemon?
Then how are you unharmed by wild Pokemon?
This battle is sweet. However, is a 12 against 6 battle really fair?
This is pretty creepy, but nowhere near as intense as the scene in Diamond and Pearl where chaos spread throughout the region. This place honestly gives me a massive headache because of the grating music and all the aimless wandering here.
Oh, sick burn, Cynthia. Weavile's cool, but also somewhat overrated like Gallade. How could I lose, Cliché? Then just wait until Yveltal. Isn't the distortion world already distorted?
I hope I'm not the only one who finds Giratina's theme overrated. I do love Giratina itself though. Also people, stop calling Giratina the devil. It helps stop Cyrus from destroying the world. What's with this incomplete bridge? Was it built to be some fancy diving board? Unlike the previous professors, Professor Rowan doesn't care about how many Pokemon you've caught. I can barely see these climbable walls. Game thinks kids will know what the heck Dodrums are. People always talk about Gardevoir being over-sexualized, but Lapa needs much more sexualized than that. This long path leads to nothing. Why did Alec only evolve one of his Magikarp and leave the other unevolved when it's already twice its evolutionary level? Tap Toys. A Munchlax rack? That's a weird design choice for a city by the ocean. I wasn't laughing at you! This electric beam deceives you into thinking you can't pass it even though you can. Minion is a pretty dazzling Pokemon, but the fact that it crawls on the seafloor with its long fins kind of takes away from that. And yes, I know there are some fish that do that in real life, but hey, gotta send stuff. Giving Rule 34 more material.
Is there any reason for Mantine to no longer have a Remoraid by it?
It's about as annoying as it is here, if not worse. Crystal kind of has a point. How the heck is Wake Up Slap a fighting type move? Unlike the past generations which have their own name for the town where the Pokemon League is, this place is just called Pokemon League, a problem that wouldn't be fixed until Gen 7. I feel this song could have been a little better, especially the night version. Mamoswine's tusks are made of ice, but that means they can melt, thus crippling it for life. Some Pokemon spend their entire lives on Torterra's back. I hope Torterra isn't bothered by that. Dusknoir has a mouth on its stomach, which I bet must be very uncomfortable. Valencia tells us she can see our past, yet she doesn't know if we met any legendary Pokemon before. I love all these new evolutions to old Pokemon, but I'm sitting them because it caused a bunch of nincompoops to whine about it, and as a result, we stopped getting new evolutions to old Pokemon ever since then, unless you count Sylveon, which only existed to promote the Fairy type, or the Galar forms, which barely count because the original forms didn't get any. Of course you have that silly grin on you. It's the expression you always have with your sprite. Discount Ronald McDonald. What's with Flint's stupid grin here? Flint's team was lame in the originals because he only had 2 fire types, but now this is a major improvement. McMortar's body takes on the whitish hue when launching 3600 degree fireballs. That sounds cool, but we never actually see this happen. You don't have much to say after the battle? There's something about Gallite's cry that I find strange. Don't you dare call me a feminist for this, but I'm removing 3 sins for finally being fair to women and giving us a female champion. However, this fight's not as hard to me as it was to everyone else, though that's probably because I used to spam revives during battles. So that's what happened to Thomas's old whistle. Sorry if you're annoyed with me talking about that more often. Cynthia stays behind and watches us take the lift, but then she's up here with us. I know the lift could have gone back down, but if it did, that was quick. Are we biking all the way home from the league? That's going to be a super exhausting bike ride. And are we biking across the water too? These Wingles look massive. They may look normal sized, but they're way above our head and still look that size. Unlike the previous minor legendary trios, the Lake Trio has the same typing and almost look the exact same too. Darkrai's a cool Pokemon, but it appearing at the top of Fawful's Minions top 100 caused everyone to completely overmilk his emotional speech about it, and it's probably what we have to blame for all these annoying emotional endings to some modern countdowns. I know Darkrai casts people into nightmares to protect itself, but I've heard it's trying to trap people in eternal nightmares. No self-protection justifies that. Oh no. 5 roaming legendaries? What is wrong with Buck's overworld sprite? Because of how similar he looks to the Battle Girls, it took me a couple years to learn that he's a boy. Bestiality. You're creepy. Is this stupid old lady senile? How would dressing up multiple times at once do any good? Discount Dragon Roost Island. These grunts didn't see us despite technically looking our way. Also, this one stands on the other one's head for a bit. Other than evolving the Bronzors, Mars and Jupiter's teams haven't changed much. I don't like teaming up with Buck. Not that I hate him, but he's a complete hindrance here, because you can't use Rock Climb until he leaves, making navigating here a nuisance. I think I agree with Sharon for once. They don't try to escape when the volcano is probably erupting. Looker's rock disguise is smaller than him. I'd be upset that we couldn't fight Sharon, but I don't care about him anyway. Awakening Heatran would make Stark Mountain erupt? That means Sharon would have died if he awakened Heatran. Not very well thought out. Heatran's smaller than it looks. We don't get sand in our eyes and clothes from the sandstorm. And it doesn't blow us off the tightrope. I'm still a bit unsure of if we're being scammed or not. We get a free Vila, but still have to spend a fortune on all this stuff. I knew it was too good to be true. maybe we shouldn't tell about Gorgeist. We weren't interfering with your treasure hunting. We were just minding our own business and then you came and scolded us. What is wrong with you? I like this shout out to Destiny DX's because it's my favorite Pokemon movie. Yes, I said it, haters. But the stupid translators got her name wrong. It's Rebecca, not Jamie. Shaman's a cool Pokemon, but it also reminds me of its bratty appearance in the Giratina movie, despite being called the Gratitude Pokemon. Fione's the worst legendary ever. It's just a weaker Manaphy that can't even evolve into it despite being born from it. Arceus doesn't have 1,000 arms like its Pokédex description says. We had to wait 2 years to fight Caitlyn, let alone learn why we couldn't fight her. And sadly, 4 of the 5 Frontier Brains had to join the club of characters who got left out of the anime, along with Wally, Emma, and pretty much everyone in Galar. This game's intro isn't nearly as cool as the intro to the first game. I'm giving a sin here because this game's title reminds me of when I was in a group chat with a bunch of idiots who would keep annoying me about this game and said I played it all the time just because it took me about a month to beat this game. N64ception. Kongo hasn't thought to maybe blow up the rock or hijack a crane to remove it or something. Then again, what do I expect from a guy who looks like an avocado monster? This cuckoo bird is still bigger than the hole it comes out of. Cheating. I don't remember this giant pile of rocks in Spiral Mountain. Earlier when we saw Banjo's cards, he had a 2 of spades in the jack of clubs. Then Bottles has them too? What kind of deck are these guys using? I was told that these decks of cards only have 1 of each. I was told that the skinny witch of the 2 had a name that is actually a sexual innuendo. But first off, it's one that no one will get. Second off, making us think of that with an old hag is disgusting enough to give 10 cents. Come on, Kazooie, you weren't scared of the dark when you were at Mad Monster Mansion. Royston really needs a bigger bowl. Also, is he not anthropomorphic like the other animals in this universe? Gruntilda's sisters must really know how to use magic if this boulder was phased through the ground for a little bit. Why do we need an old hag upskirt shot? If Gruntilda was reduced to a skeleton, how does she have the strength to pull herself out of the hole? If Gruntilda's eye can fall out now, how does it stay in place throughout the game? And how does she blink with her skull eyes? It sure is lucky that Gruntilda's spell politely waited for Banjo and Mumbo to leave the house. They got a rare form of Trubbish too? Game plays this happy theme during the death scene of a beloved character. This sad remix of Spiral Mountain is very powerful, and I might even say I like it more than the original theme. Their drill tank was able to reach all the way up to Gruntilda's lair too? Did they hire spiders to work on it? Royston is able to survive long enough until we come back and destroy the rock covering him up. These tunnels disappear after the Klungo fights. Klungo just cut the inside of his mouth on this glass. While this game's soundtrack isn't as good as the first game, it's still pretty good, and I'll remove 15 cents. But just like in the first game, most every song is in the concert C, which sounds almost like a lazy choice. Well then, sorry, but that probably won't happen. It takes probably like multiple weeks to gather up all the Jinjos. And you could always delay it. Specky isn't freaked out by how his door just suddenly opened. They drove their tank up a wall? How? Discount Blastomatic from Donkey Kong 64. Why would you do this? Gruntilda's rhyming was half of what made her such an entertaining villain. She's probably been rhyming her entire life, then adjusted to not being allowed to rhyme quite quickly. Evil Thing is a nickname that's initials or something unthreatening sounding cliche. The laser's being fired almost horizontally, but when it blasts King Jingling's castle, it's going vertically. Does Jingling have a giant mirror floating above his castle? It's kind of a foolish request for Gruntilda. Okay, I guess that's to be expected from her, but they don't need to blast the whole island, considering blasting King Jingling seemed to get them a quarter of the way there. So they just need to blast 3 more people. Bottles' wife is named Mrs. Bottles, so is Bottles called by his last name, or did his parents just decide to give him the same first name as his last name? I can probably see why Banjo is lying about Bottles still being alive, but what does he plan on telling Mrs. Bottles when Bottles doesn't show up for dinner? Sure is lucky that Specky has a secret tunnel out of the village so we can chase these witches. What is that sound even supposed to be? Pofo's minion brought up a good point in his hated character's 2011 version. Gemdros can use all these cells that can access so many different parts of the game's world, yet he doesn't let us use them. Isn't getting back at Gruntilda only one of the reasons we're doing this? We're also doing it to revive Bottles, and stop Gruntilda from blasting the whole island. Muggies sound more like weird rams than tigers. Kazooie is a jerk to her unborn children. I hate these first-person segments. They're way too easy to get lost in. Even in a game that puts a lot of emphasis on comedy like this, I still can't let this slide. Why do they think we'll fall for that old prize just on the open trick? Target sounds a fun fight, but sometimes avoiding his attacks can be a pain. I guess it's fair that Mumbo gets paid for when he uses spells, but doesn't this literal bonehead care that Gruntilda's going to turn everyone on the island into zombies if he doesn't help us? Mumbo isn't even that fun to play as. He doesn't have as many cool abilities as Banjo and Kazooie, and he can't even climb ropes. I understand he's a skeleton and all, but it's still annoying. I would have much preferred if we could play as Boggy or Wumba. Mumbo's abilities are pretty neat, but the way he activates them looks lame. Kicking this door caused it to open, but kicking this one punctured a hole in it. He walks through the swamp without making any ripples in it. This tunnel looks like he can't fit through it even though he can. Chief Bloatazin is way too big to fit through this door, so he's definitely stuck here. One of the absolute best things about this game is how the levels are connected. That's just brilliant because you almost never see this in these kinds of collectathons. But that can make it hard to tell if you're completely done with a level or not, since it'll say you have everything in it, but you might not know you must do something here to get a Jiggy in another level. Marta from Conker's Red Verde? Kinda disappointing that Slumber doesn't have any dialogue when you take his Jiggy. In fact, he doesn't even wake up at all after this. Did Mumbo just say eat your A word? I kinda agree with Wumba. She's definitely better with magic than Mumbo. However, some of her transformations aren't as inspiring as the ones in the first game. What happens to the Globos when we throw them into Wumba's pool? There's a lot of backtracking in this game. Only one of these hidden signs can actually give helpful information, and even then, it won't do any good if you already saw what was on the Red Jinjo's house back at the panic shot of Jinjo Village. The builders of this platform didn't put in any handrails. Did we just throw the honeycomb where I think we threw it? Who designed these caverns for anyone to go into and drown? And it's one of those Lost Woods levels that are tedious to navigate. These TNT boxes have impossible storage space. I think this dirty looking water would make Banjo and Kazooie both sick, especially since they don't even close their eyes underwater. At the very least, bring some goggles. Head doesn't rhyme with LT or RT. I heard that in the N64 version it made sense since Z stood for Z, but I highly doubt LT and RT stand for that, unless they're going by periodic table abbreviation logic. How will the other TNTs know when we defused one? Sneeze attack. The detonator can blow stuff up, but also cost some of your health. In other words, discount blast mask. I'm just surprised Banjo survives it. Unlike in the first game, which simply lets you change back if you leave an area when transformed, this doesn't even let you leave the area until you go back and talk to Wumba. How long has Canary Mary been trapped in this cave with all these toxic gases which the game itself even says can suffocate you? How is she still alive? How does Kazooie know that Mary doesn't have a Jiggy? Being able to ride this car isn't as fun as we were expecting, as we have to mash the button while using it. Why do they make her rocket ahead of you if you go too far ahead of her? That destroys the purpose of a fair race since you get punished for going fast enough. Didn't this Jinjo's mother ever teach him not to stand so close to the tracks like this? Too much information! 10 cents for making me think of that! Kinda neat how this Jiggy gets broken up and you put its pieces together, but how do we get them to stick together? Also, Jiggy Wiggy and the first Jinjo and Banjo-Kazooie were sentient, so is this one sentient too? Did we kill it? Great, now they have to remind us of baby songs. Also, he looks bigger than the train that he's inside. Either that or his train was built by the same guy who made Shy Guy's toy box. If you just stay on these platforms, old King Cole literally can't kill you. If it weren't for the time limit, I'd say this guy's almost as easy as Chan from Paper Mario. We save Dilberta and then she goes through this passageway to Bill's hut. But when we return to Bill's hut, she doesn't come out until after we go through. How are we strong enough to hit these columns so hard that they send the Jiggy flying to the other columns? I'm pretty sure Royston was smaller than that. Mrs. Boggy's kinda creepy. Also, Mrs. Boggy, first Bottles and now Boggy's both a first name and a last name? This game has a needless assault on amusement park food. How does Big Al even make burgers with his rhino hands? I guess that wasn't a bad joke, but how can Banjo even see Big Al's feet? He can barely see over the stand. These cable cars have no walls. I know Grintoda's evil and all, but is she trying to get sued? Because this is how you get sued. Why do these fake teeth actually hurt us? Why is Jamjo's narrating the sign? Is he the one who wrote it? But I thought Grintoda read the place. Does Jamjo's work with her? First we have the implications of Mumbo secretly working for Grintoda. Now this. Now they even imply that our torment towards Gobi was so horrible and traumatizing that it made him grow a beard. That is much more messed up than funny. Gobi's treating us like his friends even though we bullied him 4 times. Are you saying he still likes us? I can imagine Kazooie saying this, but not Banjo. It's hard to see where to jump here. These guys' names are the same sexual innuendos as earlier, and it still isn't funny. Banjo needs this new move because he forgot his admittedly useless claw attack in the first game. Balloon Burst Challenge? Insert Nintendo Capri Sun reference here. I wish they give us a hint of when these rings disappear. These tickets that the Fruities drop are almost as explosion-proof as the new Unicorn doll in Despicable Me. After you pay to enter the Inferno, for some reason it keeps closing and opening again. I didn't pay to have to go in at the right time. Who knew vehicles were lava-proof? Soggy must have been really hungry if she ate not just the fries, but the box they came in. Inferno Kong, 35 seconds of Mumbo's spell. Who charges 4 tickets for 2 people to enter?
Is it just me, or is this the least comfortable couch on earth?
I know that most of this game's adult humor is intended, but the placement of its air hole is so disgusting that I want to give 10 cents. Okay, so it makes sense that hitting his patches makes him shrink, but I think that you didn't need to get rid of all his patches in order to deflate him, since there's still a lot of air coming out of the holes. Discount Pizza Planet. There are 2 missions in Witcher World that have to do with missing children. This bridge is crooked, so it shouldn't be able to fit in the hole that it came out of. I know the phrase Jolly Roger isn't uncommon in pirate-related stuff, but this name still sounds like a ripoff of Jolly Roger Bay from Mario 64, especially when they're both 3D and 64 platformers. Pono's cash register has a button that destroys its glass. Pickles push Trotty into a pool with toxic waste. I know friends mess with each other, but this is just bullying. Did Kazooie not see all this polluted water being dumped into the pool? It's stuff like this that's the reason the term bird brain exists. What's the point of a chimney if you're just going to cover it up with a shock jump pad? After we stop the toxic waste, the water becomes clean within seconds. Banjo must be the world's smallest bear. Jerk move of Jam Judge to have one of his cells in the room that costs money to enter. I'll try to buy the fact that this is now oxygenated water, but that kinda hurts my brain now. And what about the sea creatures here? Can they still breathe? This pool makes the level look much smaller than it actually is. Inkies are annoying to hit with ice eggs. They keep blocking your eggs with their tentacles and can take you like 10 eggs to hit them before you can finally pass. This fish is a lot bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Was he in an experiment concocted by the guy who made Snoopy's doghouse? Or is he a distant relative of Bowser? This is disgusting. Kazooie can phase through these fish because I guess they're completely separate matter from Breagles. Even though the UFOs open underwater, only a small part's flooded. Do these aliens run on egg power?
Maybe the fish didn't do a good job at keeping their password a secret if they write it right above this door.
That's name mist. Wumba's magic pool or whatever isn't being mixed with the water it's under.
They gave a boss this name.
Again, I understand adult humor, but I'm giving 5 cents because it'll literally cause kids to get in trouble for saying that word. Did Railroad not realize that slow turning underwater wouldn't make for a good boss fight against this thing? They even show blood in the kids game. How wonderful. And when bumped into while in first person, get ready to rage. And when he traps you in a bubble, have mercy on your soul. Wait, this happens a lot? How does a boss this annoying keep getting defeated? Even though we're back in Glitter Gulch Mine now, they're still playing music from Jolly Roger Lagoon. Despite the size of this pipe, not that much water comes out of it at once. The hag one actually dug under the water. Does it have a button that turns it into a submarine? Because the digger tunnels are no longer accessible after you beat Klungo, the fact that going through this underwater passage now takes you above water becomes strange. Banjo is a jerk to Kazooie. Nope, still don't have a proper new Banjo game yet. This prehistoric area uses trains, and people say the trains out of its era in Spirit Tracks. Younger T-Rexes were currently smaller than humans, yet we're almost as big as a full-grown Stegosaurus. What sadistic psychopath made this Saurosaurus attack us on a skinny platform above a long fall? Something about Stompanodon's name makes me laugh.
But is he intending to stomp on us, or is he walking around randomly and happen to keep landing on us?
Even though these must be his footprints, he luckily never steps in them again. How did Terry's eggs not break from falling out of the nest? I know it's because dinosaurs were huge, but this nest makes me feel tiny.
And she spews mucus at you, that's a lie.
Disgusting does not equal funny. Terry didn't believe us when we said we don't have our eggs earlier. Now we tell her again, she suddenly believes us.
Teasing us into thinking this level has 2 bosses.
Apparently dinosaurs could control what they can and can't digest. Just showing someone's butt isn't funny. Again, I understand why adult humor is here, but that joke stunk. Appealing to the giantess community. I take back my claim that the separated moves were uncreative when I did my games I don't like as much as everyone else does list, but a hatching move is where I make an exception. Kazooie can keep a giant dinosaur's eggs warm. Does this Oogle Boogle guy have an enemy named Jack Skellington? There's more than enough room for your last kid. Scrat doesn't look like a squirrel and isn't obsessed with trying to get back a nut. They really did just establish the fact that someone ate poop. The guy who made Mary Poppins' bag must have also made Banjo's bag too.
Who knew dinosaurs could breathe underwater?
This is just plain child abuse.
What does Boggy see in this horrible old hag? There should have been a rule about joke telling that says that you should never ever make your audience feel bad for laughing at your jokes.
So here we are, in the Quagmire, because this place didn't have a section called the Peter, Lois, Stewie, Chris, or Meg. Chosen one cliche. The outside version of the song is completely dull and generic. Also, it sounds like a ripoff of Pterodactyl Land's theme. Well, at least we finally got a game soundtrack ripping itself off instead of someone else.
It's actually pretty neat that we have to use the train to get into Grunty Industries before we can actually open the door to it.
I just wish it wasn't wasted on the level this painful. Janjo's saying you won't need that flea bag on you tricks you into thinking this is a Kazooie exclusive move, when it's actually Banjo exclusive. It's so hard to navigate Grunty Industries. What's this world's cool transformation? A washing machine that shoots underwear. And we're using it to wash dirty clothes. It makes sense since we're a washing machine, but how uninspiring can you get? His clothes come with magic powers that also clean him too. Unfortunately, Washer Banjo can't use the teleport pads. And I'm adding another sin for a really stupid statement I made in my worst levels list, where I said Gruntilda doesn't know Banjo can transform. Seriously, whose butt did I pull that logic from? So yeah, I'm saying this for reminding me of my stupid statement. Banjo can hold on to this despite the rain, which should make Banjo slip off. How did these governors get all the way up here? This game turned into Toy Story 2.
These enemies have disgusting names.
Not only is it one of these first-person shooter segments that's easy to get lost in, but they literally show poop in a kid's game.
And they play farting sounds when you're near them. Trust me, this level really needs a quality control room.
This is kinda repetitive. You go to Mumbo's skull, switch to Mumbo, go to the electromagnetic chamber, use the Mumbo pad, go back, switch to Banjo, warp to Wumbo's wigwam and change into a washing machine, get back here, and do all that before time runs out.
Grunty Industries is so annoying to find your way around that Waldor is the only boss in the game I forgot to face in my playthrough of the game.
Maybe it's because of how hard he is to find, but whatever the reason, it's definitely a sin. Earlier we saw Waldor literally dragging himself into the room, but now he can jump around like this. Now they make us think of Kazooie sticking her beak in poop. Why do Gruntilda's minions have wallpaper of one of Gruntilda's enemies? That's almost as crazy as Gruntilda having a picture of us in her lair at Freezy Peak's entrance. I see no teeth marks in that Jiggy,
And even if there were some I didn't see,
Banjo wouldn't be able to see it from that far, unless he has the classic zoom and enhance eyesight.
so I guess this caveman thought Willy Wonka was the one who made that Jiggy.
How did Gobi fit through that small hole? The way that note jumped like that actually sounds generic. It sure was nice of whoever broke this pillar to have it fall in the bridge formation. Saberman set up a tent on an island surrounded by lava. Who does that? Even though the lava and the icy side have two different skies, you can still see the red sky above the icy side. What sort of idiot rhymes down with B? Banjo's backpack resists lava now. And how does it protect us if the bottom of it's open? And it can help us breathe underwater.
Banjo grabs Din while shielded by his backpack without doing anything to expose himself to the boiling water.
Also, Din's resemblance to Gloop makes it easy for some people to think we're feeding Boggy, one of our friends. Do these aliens think they're Shaggy? Sorry, Boggy, you're doing it wrong. If your igloo is not made of snow or ice, it shouldn't even be called an igloo. We interrupt this game to bring you Goo Lagoon Caves from Battle for Bikini Bottom. I never knew coliseums and passageways that take you to other coliseums in the world. This is almost Final Fantasy levels of making it look much easier to go around the world than it actually is.
And here's one of the worst jokes in any Rareware game. Killing an innocent ice cube lady isn't funny, and hearing her scream is just horrific.
I'm gonna add 10 cents for this joke that's way more scary than funny. Even without having to carry Banjo's weight around, the closest Kazooie can do to actually being able to fly with no limit is just gliding. These Shud's cries are just Governor's cries just with the pitch raise. I know that's not uncommon, but they don't fit as well with Ice Crystal enemies. Saberman's been frozen so much that Ice Eggs can't thaw him. I think I agree with Mumble for once. Alf's honestly being ungrateful. So now Alf's kids were lost, but if they could just teleport in these 3 spots, they should be able to teleport back. Who the heck is this weird guy in Baytet's badge? Saberman is right. It's pretty amazing that the tent's still up. I'm surprised Chili Billy didn't burn it down by now.
Now Alfred's going into the water where he'll die of hypothermia.
Unless aliens resist cold water. Now I wish I hadn't saved these horrible creatures.
They just couldn't resist torturing Gobi again in a way that Rareware thinks is funny.
The train station on the icy side of Hailfire Peaks is completely isolated from the rest of the level. Why? Something looks like it's going to be really awesome but ends up not being very inspiring cliche. Or was that not supposed to be a joke? If so, then yeah, that's a letdown. Our heroes trust these carnivorous plants to not eat them. Good thing whoever put these jelly blobs here knew to do a lot of complicated math in order to put them in the right spot for where people land. And he forgot to take into account how much weight makes a difference in how far you get launched. Super Sash is offended when Kazooie says he only has 10,000 combinations, but not offended when she literally implies that he's stupid. To be fair, even if that was the icy side, George would die anyway. A fall from that height would shatter him into a million pieces, so he was kinda asking for suicide here. The same sadistic psychopath that designed that high platform with the Saurosaurus earlier must have also designed the skinny platform with the Zubba. Why does the cooler looking of the 2 Mumble Skulls in this level have to be the one with the imposter? I guess this was a clever fake out, but it's also the most wasted boss in the game. Instead of taking advantage of the level you're in, it's overall just a bland and uninspiring boss fight. They couldn't even include a remix of this level's theme like they did for all the other bosses. Why couldn't they do that? The beat is even better than it was in the first game, but that buzzing can still get annoying. This minigame isn't that hard. This organ part of the song sounds kinda out of place for being inside a trash can. And now the game literally states that Banjo's sister Tootie has gone missing. It almost feels like all our progress from the first game was undone. I haven't done this challenge, but I've heard horrible things about it with how you have to mash the button faster than you can possibly imagine for an unbearable amount of time. So I'm gonna give this 10 cents. And again, if you go too far ahead of her, she will rocket ahead of you. Just what we need, rubber band AI. The cliche that makes it so you only win if the game feels sorry for you. And you only lose because you're doing what you're supposed to do in a race. And the harder one of the two doesn't even get you a Jiggy. It gets you a Cheeto page. Oh gosh, no. I can't handle a third race with her. Thank goodness Canary Mary says no. Bumbo actually hid this honeycomb piece from us. Are you on our side or not? Bumbo and the Beanstalk. How did Mr. Fit get up here? Candy cane poles. Good thing no one was right underneath this water where they could be drowned. Dippy can hear us from all the way in the sky and can also give us his Jiggy from all the way down on the ground. Do dinosaurs have invisible mail pipes? Banjo doesn't look like the Grinch during this part, and the song Chariots of Fire isn't being played here. And yeah, we beat all 3 of Mr. Fit's challenges by cheating. Draining this now cooled water into the pool makes me realize that maybe the designers of this pool shouldn't have had the water come from Hailfire Peaks. Yeah, only 90 Jiggies, as opposed to the first game's 100 Jiggies. That's pathetic. Now we can turn Kazooie into a dragon, and she can also spit infinite fire eggs now. But that would have helped if those were the only eggs we had an unlimited supply of now. If this new puzzle gives us no reward, that pretty much destroys any reason I would have had for doing it. It's pretty much pulling a Game & Watch Gallery 4 very hard mode on us. Could Cauldron Keep have any more of a generic name? And now that he's cloned himself, the fight becomes much more painful. Klungo has a wife named Mrs. Klungo. How many wives have the same last name as their husband's first name in this universe? These witches answer the questions before it's even typed in. Gruntilda just murdered her own sisters, but to be fair, they were dumb anyway. Also, she could have easily dropped one of these towns on us when we came in. Kazooie was randomly pressing buttons, and she still somehow managed to do what we were intending to do. Why would we need to turn the machine up to full power to revive bottles if we revive King Jingling with less power? Like in the first game, even though the problem's already solved, it's still apparently not a happy ending until we beat Gruntilda. Though, once again, it's better than not getting her comeuppance. Not that that wasn't funny, but you've been in many dirty situations since you were washed, so your excuse is rendered moot now. Even though Gruntilda's sisters are pretty much dead now, she still isn't allowed to rhyme. The fact that the game gives you an option to say that Boggy's a toilet, that is just way too funny. After the amount of times using her magic leaves her vulnerable, you'd think she'd learn from that and not use magic. Why does she even give us a chance to make it so she uses her slow spell? Wait, was that "There He Goes" line supposed to be a comedic take on those tearful goodbye scenes? If so, then I'm sorry, it just felt way too much like a forced joke. What Gruntilda doesn't know is that Bottles isn't dead anymore. What a letdown! I wish Banjo and Kazooie could join the party. Gruntilda deserves this, but it still feels kinda barbaric. And now they promise us a Banjo 3, which never happened, so that's enough for me to give 5 cents.